Chapter 154. After Senior Marshal Brother Ching saw the spell formation close, he looked at Lu Kuan indifferently and asked, "Junior Marshal Brother, are you ready?" Lu Kuan was a bit puzzled as to why Senior Marshal Brother Ching kept reminding him, but he still replied, "Senior Marshal Brother Ching, I'm ready." Senior Marshal Brother Ching nodded and a cold white light appeared in his hand. A golden light flashed in Lu Kuan's eyes and his expression changed greatly. He couldn't care about hiding his moves anymore. White flames flickered under his feet and he dodged to the side. At the same time, he released a Foundation Establishment Cultivator's magic power barrier and a red and green halo flashed on the surface of his body. Soon after, a white light flashed past Lu Kuan's original position. It turned out that Lu Kuan was facing a great enemy because he saw that the white light was a white flying needle magic tool. Moreover, it was at the level of Level 1 Spirit Communication. In the hands of this Middle Foundation Establishment Cultivator, its speed and penetrative power were abnormally terrifying. No wonder Senior Marshal Brother Ching asked him about his magic power and if he was ready. He was afraid that Lu Kuan would misunderstand him for a sneak attack. Even so, Lu Kuan was still flustered. He constantly used the exploding essence steps to dodge the white flying needle magic tool's attack. The chi condensation disciples below the stage were dazzled. They felt that this Marshal Uncle Lu was very strange. From the beginning of the battle, he was dodging left, right, front, and back. Moreover, he was using an escape technique that was unheard of. Soon after, some sharp-eyed disciples saw a white line constantly drawing and Marshal Uncle Lu was dodging the white line. Only then did they know that Marshal Uncle Lu was dodging the attack. The Foundation Establishment cultivators watching the battle were not like Lu Kuan. They all had some understanding of Senior Marshal Brother Ching's magic tool. When Senior Marshal Brother Ching took out the white flying needle, they saw it. Seeing the flying needles flying around and Lu Kuan constantly flashing, Fatty Zhu and the man next to him discussed the flying needle magic tool. The sallow and emaciated man next to him asked, "Fatty Zhu, I know that Senior Marshal Brother Ching specializes in refining flying needle magic tools, but I really don't know about his own magic tool." Fatty Zhu had a smug look as he said, "You don't say. I do know. This is Senior Brother Ching's Gemini Soul-Chasing Needle. You should know that the Gemini Soulseeker Needles are a set of flying needle magic artifacts. There are a silver needle and a white needle. The silver needle specifically targets magic artifact. Inferior top-grade defensive magic artifacts would be pierced through by the silver needle. As for the other white needle, it's the one that chased after Lu Shidi in the formation. It's different from the silver needle in that it only targets spells and can easily penetrate a cultivator's defensive shield. Lu Shidi's battle instincts are very accurate. He didn't use the mana shield on his body to block the attack. Instead, he used an escape technique to dodge the attack. Otherwise, even if he had a mid-foundation establishment mana shield, he would still have been pierced by the white needle. After hearing this, the man's expression turned ugly. He said, "That is to say, if Senior Marshal Brother Ching uses flying needles to sneak attack an early Foundation Establishment cultivator, it's basically a sure thing." Fatty Zhu looked at the scene in the formation and sighed. Isn't Lu Shidi at the early Foundation Establishment stage? Yet, he wasn't defeated in one move. It might be because Senior Marshal Brother Ching's set of flying needle magic artifacts only has a Level 1 psychic formation inscribed on them. If it's a Level 2 formation, the speed will increase. The man nodded and said, "It's already very difficult to refine flying needle magic artifacts, not to mention a set. It's too difficult to inscribe a formation on it." Fatty Zhu said, "It's said that this Level 1 psychic formation was inscribed by Marshal Uncle Zhu back then. Could it be that even Marshal Uncle Zhu can't inscribe a Level 2 formation on the flying needle magic artifacts?" Fatty Zhu shook his head and said, "I'm not sure about that. It seems that Senior Marshal Brother Ching is unwilling to inscribe it." "I know. Is it because it's a level 2 formation that the set of magic artifacts can't be used? Fatty Zhu said, it's possible. However, I've never heard of the twin soul-chasing needles combination attack. I wonder if Lu Shidi can make Senior Martial Brother Qing use this move. Senior Martial Brother Qing summoned his silver needles again. In the formation, Senior Martial Brother Qing saw that Lu Kuan's escape technique was strange and that he couldn't defeat his opponent with a single white needle. Therefore, he summoned his silver needles. The twin needles crisscrossed and attacked Lu Kuan, who was constantly dodging. The entire place was filled with silver and silver rays. The two rays of light crisscrossed as if they were weaving silk. Lu Kuan sighed inwardly. This Senior Martial Brother Cheng's combat experience was extremely rich. He had tried to use the primordial explosion steps to approach this Senior Martial Brother several times, but he was blocked by the flying needles. His foundation establishment stage magic power barrier was penetrated by the white flying needle when it brushed past it. He didn't dare to let the red and green light barrier receive it head-on. The two flying needles quickly forced Lu Kuan into a corner of the formation. This Senior Martial Brother is like a master of flying needles. He uses them so skillfully. It seems like I can't hide the combat style of a body cultivator. Lu Kuan thought to himself. Just as the two flying needles forced Lu Kuan into a corner and Senior Martial Brother Qing was about to win, Lu Kuan suddenly took out the set of Dharma artifacts he used in the previous battle. Senior Martial Brother Qing saw this and shook his head. This Lu Kuan's combat awareness isn't bad. Doesn't he know that the speed of his staff is much slower than my silver flying needles? There's no way he can defend against it. It's better to take out two defensive Dharma artifacts. What is Lu Shidi doing? Senior Martial Brother Qing saw Lu Kuan holding the two long Dharma artifacts with both hands. This action stunned all of the spectating disciples. To their knowledge, only mortals could use such a method of wielding weapons. They were all high and mighty cultivators who had always been able to control flying swords and Dharma artifacts from afar. They were elegant and unrestrained existences. In the sky, Master Ling Hu's eyes lit up when he saw Lu Kuan's battle stance. His expression was one of anticipation. Senior Martial Brother Qing didn't stop his attack because of Lu Kuan's strange actions. Lu Kuan grabbed the two rods with both hands, and an excited smile appeared on his resolute face. The red-green halo around his body shone brightly, and then a white flame burned on his arms. It looked similar to the true fire of the Foundation establishment stage, and this true fire directly climbed up the two rods. Then, he quickly danced. Clang! Clang! There was a rapid sound of metal colliding. Lu Kuan, who should have been seriously injured by the two needles, was still alive and kicking. He actually held the two staffs with both hands and accurately blocked the flying needles. This time, Senior Martial Brother Qing and the other Foundation establishment disciples who were watching the battle were all shocked. A Foundation establishment disciple said, "Those are the Gemini soul-chasing needles. It's a Dharma artifact that even the power of divine sense can't accurately determine its trajectory." Lu Shidi not only dodged so many attacks before, but he's also blocked them now. When Fatty Zhu, who was not far away, heard this, he also said, "That's right." Junior brother Lu's expression was normal after receiving the attack. You have to know that in the previous battle, his two rods were not combined. Even an early-stage Foundation Establishment Level 1 magic artifact found it difficult to block. Not to mention the Dharma artifact of a mid-stage Foundation Establishment cultivator. When Lu Kuan received the attack of the flying needles, Senior Brother Cheng's expression changed slightly. As he controlled the flying needles, he could clearly feel the force generated by each hit of the flying needles by Lu Kuan. It was incomparably shocking. Not good. Senior Martial Brother Qing saw Lu Kuan rushing towards him. He stirred up his Dharma power and continuously controlled the flying needles to block. However, this time, Lu Kuan had the matchless staff to block. In a few flashes, he arrived in front of Senior Marshal Brother Ching. Lu Kuan looked at the powerful mid-stage foundation establishment stage Dharma power barrier in front of him. He didn't hesitate to use his two weapons to attack. Along the way, he would occasionally hit away a flying needle that was harassing him. However, this mid-stage foundation establishment stage Dharma power barrier was abnormally thick. Lu Kuan really couldn't break it in a short period of time. Then, he put the two staffs together and a red-black giant staff appeared in his hands. At this moment, while Lu Kuan was using the combination attack, Senior Marshal Brother Cheng's eyes lit up. His two flying needles also merged together and then seemed to disappear. The reason why Senior Marshal Brother Cheng's combination attack wasn't seen by many Foundation Establishment stage disciples was because after the two needles merged together, they would become transparent. At the same time, the entire Dharma artifact would be very difficult to sense with divine sense. After merging, the flying needles combined the advantages of the two needles. They could penetrate both Dharma artifacts and Dharma power barriers. Their attacks could be said to be impossible to guard against. Clang! Another crisp sound rang out. Lu Kuan seemed to be able to see the hidden flying needle. The red-black giant staff directly hit the invisible Dharma artifact. As soon as the flying needles merged together, Lu Kuan sensed something strange. Fortunately, his golden eye divine ability was quite heaven-defying. He saw the direction of the invisible flying needle and blocked it in an instant. The penetrating power of the combined flying needle was terrifying. However, after Lu Kuan's unparalleled staff was added with the strange black stone from the smart Demon Valley, its structure was stable. For a moment, the flying needle couldn't do anything to the unparalleled staff. However, the penetrating power of the flying needle penetrated the staff in his hand and entered Lu Kuan's body. Then, this penetrating power was withstood by Lu Kuan's demonic beast-level body. He was unscathed. Lu Kuan then quickly brandished the unparalleled staff and crazily hammered the barrier. Inside, Senior Marshal Brother Cheng's face was ugly. At this time, the unparalleled staff carried the power of vibration and a strange force into his body, making him feel very uncomfortable. What was even stranger was that his Dharma power was somewhat paralyzed. Whether it was casting spells or controlling Dharma artifacts, there was a lot of stagnation. It was as if he had been hit by a vine spell. This caused him to be unable to maintain the combination of the flying needles and split into two. Not long after, the Dharma power barrier was broken. Senior Marshal Brother Ching could only shake his head and admit defeat. In the sky, Uncle Master Ling Hu also didn't expect Lu Kuan to win in such a way. He announced, "The winner of the fourth array is number 34, Lu Kuan. He will participate in the semi-finals tomorrow. Everyone disperse." I didn't expect there to be an early-stage Foundation Establishment cultivator in the semi-finals. Yeah, this early-stage Foundation Establishment cultivator just advanced not long ago. He doesn't even have a level 1 spiritual immortal artifact. I think this Lu Shitty might really live on the 4th level. The other arrays are not finished yet. I still want to go take a look. Chapter 155. After Senior Marshal Brother Ching admitted defeat, he didn't reveal any strange expression. For someone as old as him who had no hope of forming his gold core, this was nothing. However, he was very curious about the numbing power that Lu Kuan had used through the Transcendence power barrier. He had never seen an immortal artifact with such power, and he wanted to study Lu Kuan's immortal artifact to see why it was so hard. Unfortunately, Lu Kuan had been taken away by Marshal Uncle Ling Hu. Senior Marshal Brother Ching shook his head, summoned his flying immortal artifact, and flew back to his cave. He planned to improve his flying needles according to this battle. This was what he was truly interested in. When Lu Kuan arrived at the Sunset Pavilion, he saw the huge silver-spotted cheetah above. He was extremely surprised. When he was below, he couldn't see this powerful demonic beast lying on the ground. The silver-spotted cheetah raised its head and stood up. Its huge, oppressive body circled around Lu Kuan, causing Lu Kuan's hair to stand on end. In the end, the cheetah sniffed at him with its nose before lying back down. Lu Kuan relaxed. When the withered old man saw this, he thought for a while and said, "Lu Kuan, the little demonic beast that was playing with your spirit beast was the cub of this silver-spotted cheetah." Lu Kuan looked at the mighty and majestic cheetah and thought about the small body of the gray kitten. He really couldn't connect the two together. Martial Uncle Ling Hu continued, "The silver-spotted cheetah's body will change greatly after it reaches adulthood. Little Gray is now at the level of a top-tier demonic beast. I believe it won't be long before it reaches adulthood. On the other hand, your spirit monkey's talent is astonishing. When I saw it today, I noticed that it was a little restless. The demonic spiritual energy in its body was roiling. I think it's about to become a second-tier demonic beast." Lu Kuan nodded and said, "Martial Uncle is wise. After the competition, I need to go into seclusion with Xiao Jin and accompany it to become a second-tier demonic beast." Suddenly, two gray figures leaped up from the wall outside the pavilion. They were the two top-tier monsters that Lu Kuan and Martial Uncle Ling Hu had talked about. Xiao Jin quickly jumped onto Lu Kuan's shoulder, a relaxed and joyful expression blossoming on its monkey face. It swung its tail and did not seem to be as nervous as it was 2 days ago. Meanwhile, the gray kitten was lying on the back of the silver-spotted leopard with a satisfied look on its face. Its slender tail was wagging and occasionally sweeping across the leopard's face. The silver-spotted leopard seemed to be used to it. Its sapphire-blue eyes revealed a doting and helpless expression. "Lu Shizhi, I brought you here because the owner of this silver-spotted leopard, Core Formation Senior Martial Brother Su Tianchuan of the Morning Sun Peak, is looking for you. He said he wants to." "Hey, they're coming." Lu Kuan looked up and saw 3 people flying over the formation. One of them was a burly old man wearing a red robe. Lu Kuan knew that he was Martial Uncle Zhang Xingyu of the Weapon Refining Peak. He also knew Zhu Siming beside him. The last one was a somewhat fat, unfamiliar old man. He must be Martial Uncle Su of the Morning Sun Peak. After Martial Uncle Su landed, he looked at Lu Kuan with a smile and asked, "This is Lu Shizhi, right?" Lu Kuan bowed to the people who came over and replied, "Yes, Martial Uncle Su." The old man clicked his tongue and looked at the little monkey on Lu Kuan's shoulder with interest. Xiao Jin was a little scared by his gaze and could not help but bare its teeth at him. It was not afraid of the powerful aura on his body at all. Then, Lu Kuan heard the old man say, "Lu Shizhi, I'll get straight to the point. I asked Brother Ling Hu to bring you here. I just want to ask if you can give this spirit monkey to me. I can exchange it with something of the same value." When Lu Kuan heard this, he revealed a difficult expression and said, "Martial Uncle Su, Xiao Jin is my bloodline spirit beast. I can't give it to you." Hearing this, the surrounding Core Formation elders were a little enlightened. No wonder they felt that this spirit monkey was so intelligent. It turned out that it was a bloodline spirit beast. Lu Kuan did not spread this around. Only Gu Tianjian and Qin Yushu knew about this. Martial Uncle Su revealed a puzzled expression and turned to look at the silver-spotted leopard on the ground. The silver-spotted leopard seemed to sense something and looked at Martial Uncle Su. The leopard nodded its head lightly. This Core Formation intermediate stage cultivator murmured, "I didn't expect it to really be a bloodline spirit beast." At this moment, Zhu Siming looked at Lu Kuan, who was in a daze, and said, "Lu Kuan, there's nothing for you to do here. You can go back." Lu Kuan nodded his head and bowed to the few completion stage uncles before slowly walking down the stairs. After Lu Kuan left, Martial Uncle Zhang said, "The silver-spotted leopard probably didn't sense wrongly. You old man, you actually coveted a foundation establishment stage disciple's spirit beast." Martial Uncle Su heard this and glared at him. He said, I saw that it was about to break through and couldn't help but want to take it to help it break through. Since they really have a bloodline contract, there's nothing I can do about it. But there's really a lot of talent in your weapon refining peak. This disciple's cultivation is only at the beginning stage of the foundation establishment stage, but he's actually the winner of the fourth formation. These core formation stage cultivators had powerful divine senses. Although they were separated by the formation, they could still sense the battles in the other formations. They saw several of Lu Kuan's battles. Zhu Siming nodded his head and said, Lu Shiji's talent is extraordinary. He created his own cultivation method and succeeded in building his foundation using ancient method. It's understandable that he's so powerful. This made Su Tianchuan of the Morning Sun Peak interested. He asked, he created his own cultivation method to build his foundation? Really? Tell me about it. That's right, old man Zhang, let's talk inside your cave. I've been drooling over that bottle of 100-year-old spirit wine for a long time. Then, these core formation stage cultivators flew towards Zhang Xingyu's cave on the top floor. After Lu Kuan left the Sunset Pavilion, he happened to meet Fatty Zhu and a dozen other foundation establishment stage disciples. He went up to them and got to know them. Lu Kuan relied on the name he made today. Not a single foundation establishment stage disciple looked down on him. They all treated him as a foundation establishment stage cultivator. They got to know each other and Lu Kuan integrated into the circle of weapon refining peak foundation establishment stage disciples. From chatting along the way, Lu Kuan also learned about the other three victorious disciples. One of them was Yi Zetian. He had the highest cultivation level among the participating disciples. He was in the late foundation establishment stage. In several battles, his opponents either admitted defeat or relied on a level 3 spiritual immortal treasure to crush them. The other two were both in the middle foundation establishment stage. One was called Sun Haowen. He had Rellingan's talent and easily defeated his opponent with his powerful lightning-type spells. The last one was called Li Haiyang. Compared to the previous two, his strength was slightly weaker. He relied mainly on his cultivation level at the peak of the middle foundation establishment stage to barely win. On the third floor, after Lu Kuan separated from Fatty Zhu and the others, he entered his cave and began to think about the next battle. Among his opponents, even the weakest one was at the peak of the middle foundation establishment stage. After the previous few battles, Lu Kuan knew that the maximum power he could unleash with his spells was close to the middle foundation establishment stage. He couldn't break through the defense of a middle foundation establishment stage cultivator. If his matchless staff was controlled by the telekinesis technique, its individual strength would be weaker than a level 1 spiritual immortal treasure. After combining, it would only be slightly stronger than 2 level 1 immortal treasures. But when he wielded the matchless staff, its individual strength would be comparable to a top level 1 immortal treasure. That was why he could easily send senior apprentice Brother Cheng's flying needles flying. After he combined the matchless staff, he was able to break through a middle foundation establishment stage cultivator's barrier with just a few hits. This meant that it had the strength of a level 2 immortal treasure. Moreover, the matchless staff's quality was very high. Even senior apprentice Brother Cheng's flying needles couldn't penetrate it. Its quality wasn't inferior to any immortal treasure. That's right. When I attacked senior apprentice Brother Cheng at the end, liquid dermic power entered the matchless staff. Every time I attacked, his dermic power would be paralyzed. It was as if he was controlled by the vine technique and couldn't summon any other immortal treasures. Could it be because my cultivation technique has fused with the primordial tree body tempering art? After that, Lu Kuan went into deep thought in the immortal cave. Not long after, his eyes lit up and he walked into the refining room in the immortal cave. Sounds of hammering could be heard coming from inside. The next morning, in front of the Sunset Pavilion on the 4th floor of the weapon refining peak, there was a huge formation. The area covered by this formation was 3 times larger than yesterday's formations. This way, the disciples fighting inside would have enough space to fight. 3 Foundation establishment disciples stood beside this formation. One of them was a skinny, dark-skinned middle-aged man. He looked around restlessly, worried that he might lose something. The other 2 disciples were expressionless. They had their eyes closed and were adjusting their breathing. As for the outer ring, it was filled with chi condensation disciples. These disciples were chattering excitedly. The other Foundation establishment disciples were hovering in the air outside the formation on their magic tools. The person presiding over the competition this time was Zhang Xingyu, the core formation cultivator with the highest cultivation level in the weapon refining peak. He looked at the 3 disciples below and frowned. Many of the Foundation establishment disciples who chatted with Lu Kuan yesterday were puzzled. Fatty Zhu said, "That's impossible. Lu Shidi looked fine yesterday and wasn't injured. Why isn't he here yet? Does he want to give up?" It turned out that the other 3 disciples who had entered the top 4 were already standing beside the formation. The only one who hadn't arrived was Lu Kuan. Just as the tall and sturdy old man above the array was about to make an announcement, a small azure boat shot over from not far away and arrived in front of the array in a short while. It was Lu Kuan. He was sweating profusely as he cupped his fists and said to the old man, "Uncle Zhang, I'm so sorry. I almost missed the competition." Zhang Xingyu snorted and said, "If you came a moment later, I would have considered you forfeited." He waved his hand at Lu Kuan and had him stand below. Then, he said in a clear voice, "Since the last 4 disciples have arrived, the competition will begin immediately. You will draw a wooden tablet here. The 2 people who draw the same number will compete. The winner will enter the competition for first place. The 2 who lose will compete for third place." After he finished speaking, the core formation cultivator summoned a magic tool that looked like a wine jar and flew it to each person. Chapter 156. After Lu Kuan received the token, a lean man in front of him looked at him. The token in his hand was also number 2. Lu Kuan heaved a sigh of relief. This lean man was Li Haiyang, the disciple in the middle Foundation establishment stage, who was slightly weaker in overall strength. Although Lu Kuan had prepared himself yesterday, it was inevitable that he would have to use his trump card if he were to face 2 powerful opponents right from the start. Zhang Xingyu, who was in the air, saw that everyone had chosen their tokens. He used his divine sense and said, "For the first round, the 2 of you with number 1 will go up." Then, under the expectant gazes of the surrounding disciples, a middle-aged man with short hair and a resolute face slowly walked up. He was the only late Foundation establishment stage cultivator among these disciples, Yi Zetian. Opposite him was a handsome man with a dignified expression. It was the Relling talent, Sun Haowen. "Senior brother Yi, I didn't expect to meet you in the first round," said the handsome man, Sun Haowen. Yi Zetian said indifferently, "What's the difference between the first round and the second round? It's just that we're a little late." Sun Haowen nodded and said, "That's right. Then let's have a good competition and see who's the strongest." The words of these 2 people showed that they didn't care about the other 2 at all. As the array closed, the 2 people began to move. Yi Zetian first propped up a dermic power shield, then raised his hand and summoned 2 dermic treasures. They were 2 flywheel dermic treasures that emitted a powerful aura. One was gold and the other was silver. The gold flywheel had a circle of sharp blades around it. It was still spinning slowly, and the golden light on it was rather dazzling. The other silver flywheel had the same internal shape, but the outermost layer didn't have a sharp blade, only a circle of pale white material. When the surrounding disciples saw this, they were stunned. They had never seen this pair of dermic treasures before. In the previous round, Yi Zetian had only used a grade 3 flying sword to defeat his opponent. Now, the two dermic treasures he had summoned were powerful dermic treasures that were both offensive and defensive. They couldn't be refined by ordinary people. Judging from their auras, they were all level 3 spiritual immortal treasures. The only question was whether they were a set. If they were, Sun Haowen's chances of victory would be extremely low. When Sun Haowen saw this pair of magic tools, his expression changed slightly. However, he already knew that this senior brother's refining skills were extraordinary, so he didn't panic. A purple shield of magic power appeared around Sun Haowen's body. Then, he summoned a pair of metal gloves. Purple light flashed on the gloves and he put them on. Then, purple lightning balls appeared on his hands one after another. A total of 6 lightning balls appeared, and each one emitted a heart-palpitating aura. They were all close to the aura of an intermediate or mid-tier spell. Lu Kuan broke out in a cold sweat. The power of his fire and wood fusion spell was about the same as that of a lightning ball. He said in a daze, "Thunder attribute spells are so powerful?" Even Martial Uncle Zhang and the other core formation martial uncles from the Sunset Pavilion looked over. Martial Uncle Zhang, who was in the air, said, "This magic tool is really powerful. It can actually turn the thunder palm into a lightning ball. It's easier to control and even increases its power. It's quite profound." Some of the Foundation establishment disciples in the air with sharp ears heard the words of the core formation martial uncle. Their faces were filled with fear. The Thunder Palm was a beginner-level spell. Its combined power was close to that of a beginner-level spell. However, its weakness was that the direction of its attack was very direct and could be easily dodged by the enemy. Not only did this magic tool turn the Thunder Palm into a lightning ball, making it easier to control and increase the power of the Thunder Palm. With just these lightning balls, Sun Haowen's strength was comparable to that of a Foundation establishment late-stage cultivator. Senior Brother Qing, who lost to Lu Kuan, was also among the disciples. He looked at the gloves and the lightning balls beside Sun Haowen. The senior disciple couldn't help but say in a low voice, "We all thought that Junior Brother Sun's refining skills were only average. It turns out that we were all wrong. He actually made such a powerful auxiliary magical tool for his Thunder Spirit root." When Yi Zetian saw Sun Haowen's gloves, his face changed. When he saw the lightning balls beside Sun Haowen, his face sank. His gold and silver magic tools danced up and down. The golden blades on the outside of the magic tool spun even faster. It was obvious that he was not calm. The two of them seemed to be afraid of each other's methods. For a moment, neither of them made a move. Suddenly, Sun Haowen looked at his opponent's magic tool and seemed to have discovered something. 3 lightning balls suddenly shot forward. Yi Zetian also moved. The golden flying wheel in front of him suddenly flashed with a blinding golden light and slashed towards Sun Haowen, who was not far away. When Lu Kuan, who was watching the battle from outside, saw this golden light, he immediately thought of the ultimate move of the Yi siblings from the Qingzhou Yi clan. The same golden light. It also needs to accumulate power. This golden light was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it arrived in front of Sun Haowen and disappeared along with the 3 lightning balls he shot out. In the end, only a faint golden light remained and hit Sun Haowen's magic barrier. It did not break through. It turned out that when Yi Zetian's golden flying wheel was summoned, it was already spinning slightly. It was already accumulating power. He planned to secretly catch his opponent off guard. Unfortunately, Sun Haowen noticed. Then, the two of them made their next move at the same time. Yi Zetian directly controlled the golden flying wheel to rush towards his opponent. It was like a golden circular blade. Under the full power of his late Foundation establishment stage magic power, it emitted a sharp light. When Sun Haowen shot out the first 3 lightning balls, his hands began to compress the remaining 3 lightning balls. He revealed a strained expression. His handsome face was even a little distorted. The purple gloves would occasionally emit a little bit of electricity and add to the lightning balls in the middle. Boom! A loud sound. It was as if thunder had struck in the sky. A deep purple ball of lightning appeared between the pair of purple gloves. Sun Haowen seemed to exert a lot of effort to push the ball of lightning out, and it hit the golden wheel magic tool that was shooting towards him. The ball of lightning directly sent the golden flywheel flying. Then, as if Sun Haowen had lost control, the powerful ball of lightning flew diagonally upward. The array surrounding the two of them did not cover the sky, so the ball of lightning shot directly into the clouds in the sky. Below, Yi Zetian's expression was not very good. The lightning ball just now was very powerful. When it hit his golden flying wheel, the lightning element magic had a paralyzing effect. It caused his magic power to be slightly paralyzed through the magic tool. As for his golden magic tool, it was dull from the lightning strike and fell to the ground. For a while, he could not recall it. Yi Zetian murmured, "I didn't expect the lightning element magic to be more powerful than the rumors. Not only is its destructive power great, the side effects are also so great." Then, Yi Zetian looked up at the sky with a surprised expression. He no longer cared about the golden magic tool on the ground. Instead, he took out a high-level talisman and slapped it on himself with a heartache. A thick earthy yellow shield appeared around his body. It turned out that Sun Haowen had taken advantage of the fact that Yi Zetian was affected by the power of lightning to chant something. The white cloud above Yi Zetian that had been struck by the lightning ball earlier turned pitch black, and an oppressive feeling descended from the sky. Lightning fall. How is this possible? This is a top mid-level lightning element magic. Even Master Zhang revealed a somewhat surprised expression. He whispered, "Although it's a trick and the power of the magic released is a little weaker, the related characteristics are not changed." Yi Zetian's expression was very ugly. The power of this lightning fall was not bad. The most frightening thing was that it was different from the lightning palm. It would lock onto the opponent and hit the target. Chapter 157. Boom! A loud sound rang out. A thick purple lightning bolt fell from the black cloud and struck towards Yi Zetian. Sun Haowen was sweating profusely, but his expression was very excited. He said excitedly, "Thunderfall, haha, I really used it." He spent nearly 100 years collecting a lot of lightning-related materials to refine this purple metal glove. It took him a lot of energy. This magic tool not only increased the casting speed of his lightning-type spells, but it also reduced the consumption of his divine sense and increased the power of his lightning-type spells. Previously, he relied on this glove to compress the fused lightning ball. Because of the amazing power of the fused lightning ball, it was very difficult for him to control it with his divine sense. There was no way to hit the opponent who could dodge. Therefore, he aimed at the cloud in the sky. After the cloud was filled with the power of thunder and lightning, he could release a simple thunderfall with the help of the glove. The power of his simplified thunderfall mainly came from the fused lightning ball, but it had the ability to lock on to the opponent. Previously, when his fused lightning ball knocked away the opponent's magic tool, it made the opponent's magic power stagnate. He was able to seize the time to use this killer move. The real Thunderfall had the power of an intermediate top-grade spell, which was not something he could use now. However, the simplified Thunderfall was still powerful. Even if it could not break the opponent's defense, the side effect would still paralyze the opponent's magic power for a period of time. At this time, he could defeat Yi Zetian without the help of a magic tool with his ordinary lightning ball. Just when Sun Haowen felt that victory was in his hands, the silver metal on the opponent's silver flywheel fell off and turned into a pure white flywheel. "What white clay spiritual earth?" Sun Haowen cried out involuntarily as if he had seen something incredible. Everyone saw the thick purple lightning bolt hit the white flywheel. The lightning bolt shot in all directions and repelled it. It directly pressed against the yellow magic shield outside Yi Zetian, but there was no way to break through the white defense. During this stalemate, Sun Haowen released a few more lightning balls, but they were all blocked by the unusually strong yellow defensive shield. Not long after, the lightning bolt of the simplified thunderfall was exhausted. Yi Zetian revealed a confident expression. The golden flywheel on the ground began to spin again, quickly attacking the somewhat surprised Sun Haowen. This Relingen disciple, who had just released 2 big moves, quickly summoned a level 2 psychic hammer. While blocking the golden flywheel, he tried to attack the white flywheel. However, his ordinary lightning balls were all blocked by the golden flywheel. No matter which flywheel his opponent's flywheel hit, it had no effect. The fused lightning ball could not be released when the opponent was alert. Even if it was released, Yi Zetian could use the flywheel refined white clay spiritual earth to block it. After all, Sun Haowen's mana couldn't be compared to the late Foundation establishment stage. After exchanging a few rounds of blows, without the element of surprise from lightning spells, Sun Haowen could only be defeated and die. A month ago, when Yi Zetian found out about this competition, he took out the white pottery spiritual earth that he had stored. This white pottery spiritual earth was one of the few materials that could resist the power of thunder and lightning. It could only be found in high mountains where thunder and lightning frequently erupted. He spent a lot of effort to refine this white flywheel with the white clay spiritual earth. He also spent a lot of effort to upgrade it to a level 3 psychic immortal treasure. Otherwise, it might not have been able to block the simplified thunderfall. In the following battle, Yi Zetian relied on this special defensive magic treasure to block the opponent's lightning magic. However, this white flywheel was very fragile. If it encountered a pure magic treasure attack, it would be very difficult to block. This was the reason why Yi Zetian refined it into a flywheel. It could be used together with his other magic treasure, the Golden Moon Flywheel, to attack and defend. Without being affected by the paralyzing power of the thunder magic, he defeated Sun Haowen with his profound cultivation base. In the air, Martial Uncle Zhang had already seen through the true nature of the white flywheel. He smiled and sighed in his heart. These two are indeed the elite disciples of my crafting peak. They both know how to use the art of refining to increase their strength to the greatest extent. He then announced, the first round of the competition is Yi Zetian's victory. The spectating disciples feasted their eyes on Sun Haowen's magical gloves at the beginning, then that exquisite lightning spell combination, as well as the lightning fall that he used in tandem with it. Later on, Yi Zetian used a defensive flywheel that could counter lightning and another golden flywheel. It was a clever combination of offense and defense. This allowed them to experience the glory of the elite disciples of Crafting Peak. They used the art of refining to increase their strength in all aspects. If their defense was insufficient, they would refine unique magic treasures. If their magic was too strong to control, they would research magic treasures that could support magic. My two senior brothers are really amazing. It's funny that I learned the art of refining just to earn more spirit stones. Why can't I research magic treasures that are really suitable for me? After watching this competition, a disciple seemed to have understood a great principle. Lu Kuan, who was below the stage, had the deepest feeling. Didn't Nie Wufeng, who he first met, develop amazing spiritual control magic treasures to make up for his shortcomings? And didn't he himself also explore the art of refining that was really suitable for him to refine his body? Next, Lu Kuan and Li Haiyang will compete in the second round. The spectating disciples were still looking forward to the next round, mainly because they had never seen Lu Kuan's fighting style before. They were very curious about his combat strength. Lao Xianhua, who had seen Lu Kuan fight before, would not go around announcing his failure. When Lu Kuan heard the words of this uncle master, he stopped thinking and walked into the spirit design. Looking at the spacious field, he was speechless. These Uncle Masters were clearly not giving him the chance to use his advantage. The other skinny man, Li Haiyang, also walked in. He carefully walked to the place furthest away from Lu Kuan and waited for the spell formation to close. He immediately summoned a flying boat and jumped on it. Then, he quickly rose into the air. Lu Kuan was left dumbfounded on the ground. This Li Haiyang was very cautious. As early as the day before, he had asked many disciples who were watching Lu Kuan fight. In the end, he found out that Lu Kuan's strong points were his strange escape technique, as well as the attack speed and power of the magic treasures in his hands. But these strong points were useless in the sky. Separated by the sky, this strange junior brother could only use magic treasures to attack, and their power was greatly reduced. Looking at Lu Kuan below, who was at a loss, Li Haiyang was a little proud. He summoned a magic ruler that emitted the power of a level 2 psychic, and attacked Lu Kuan. Then, he saw Lu Kuan take out a pair of long staff magic treasures. Li Haiyang was a little puzzled. Didn't you say that one staff was black and the other dark red? Why are both black? Clang. Lu Kuan could even catch a flying needle magic treasure, so this magic ruler was nothing. He crossed the two staffs and calmly caught the level 2 psychic magic treasure. But then, Li Haiyang saw Lu Kuan stagger 2 steps back from the power of his magic ruler. Although my magic ruler's penetrative power is not as good as senior brother Cheng's, with my cultivation at the peak of the middle stage, the power of this magic treasure is still stronger than the flying needles. Then, Li Haiyang used all his strength to activate this magic ruler, continuously attacking Lu Kuan, intending to exhaust his magic power. His magic power was much stronger than Lu Kuan's. But Li Haiyang didn't realize that Lu Kuan used his staffs to block the magic ruler's attack every time. He didn't use his physical strength to knock the magic ruler away. Chapter 158. As the battle progressed, Li Haiyang, who was in midair, felt that something was amiss. This early Foundation establishment junior martial brother had already received more than 10 of his attacks. Although he seemed to be in a sorry state, he was still full of energy. That's right, why isn't he dodging? Why is he taking my attacks head-on? Why is he so close to me? He discovered that Lu Kuan had unknowingly swayed below him and was only about 70 to 80 feet away from him. Suddenly, Lu Kuan's leg muscles intertwined and bulged. At the same time, a white flame erupted from his feet. His entire body shot up like an arrow. Li Haiyang was startled. He controlled the flying boat to ascend. He didn't have time to use his ruler to attack. Instead, he took out a defensive magic tool. After Lu Kuan jumped into the air, the white flame beneath his feet suddenly split into 2 colors, red and green. Soon after, the sound of flames exploding could be heard. Lu Kuan seemed to be stepping on flames as he soared into the air at an even faster speed. His entire body flashed with a red and green light and his muscles swelled. He was using his full strength at this time. The same red and green flames exploded 3 times. Lu Kuan had already arrived in front of Li Haiyang. He revealed an excited smile at his opponent who had summoned a defensive shield. Soon after, Lu Kuan's pair of black rods struck towards the defensive shield. After feeling Lu Kuan's attack, Li Haiyang's expression changed. He clenched his teeth and took out a talisman. He activated it and a yellow defensive barrier appeared around his body. At this time, Li Haiyang had 3 layers of defense. The outermost layer was a level 2 spiritual shield. The middle layer was a yellow defensive barrier activated by the talisman. The innermost layer was a mid-foundation establishment magic barrier. Seeing this, Lu Kuan raised his eyebrows. Soon after, the black rod struck towards Li Haiyang at a speed comparable to senior martial brother Cheng's flying needle magic tool. Bang bang bang! At the same time, the red and green light under Lu Kuan's feet continued to explode, and the sound of explosions continued to ring out. Coupled with the brute force of the frequent attacks of the twin staves, Li Haiyang was sent flying into the air. After a while, Li Haiyang's face turned pale, as if he had run out of mana. The flying boat under his feet and the shield in front of him shook and then fell down. Then, Lu Kuan's attack landed directly on the magic shield. Li Haiyang was incomparably terrified. Every time Lu Kuan attacked, there would be a trace of numbness, making it difficult for him to steadily output his magic power. Although the paralysis effect was very small, it could not stop Lu Kuan's rapid attacks. Without the flying boat and the defensive shield, if he hadn't cautiously used a middle-grade high-grade talisman, his middle-grade foundation establishment protective shield wouldn't have lasted for too long. All of this happened in the time it took for a spark to fly off a piece of flint. The spectating disciples could see that under Lu Kuan's feet, red and green lights were constantly flashing. It was as if he was flying through the air. He directly knocked Li Haiyang's magic weapon to the ground. In this short period of time, the two of them were already hundreds of feet above the ground in the air. This was the 4th level of the weapon refining peak. If they were to go up another 100 feet, they would have already surpassed the height of the 5th level and entered the clouds. The Qi condensation disciples below were so shocked that their jaws were about to drop. The Foundation establishment disciples in midair also looked blankly at Li Haiyang, who had been knocked into the air. They had never seen such a violent battle. Looking at Lu Kuan's storm-like close-range attacks, while they were frightened, they also faintly felt their blood boil. Fortunately, the magic shield was abnormally strong. Li Haiyang was unable to counterattack in this series of attacks, but he was not defeated for the time being. When Lu Kuan and Li Haiyang were hundreds of feet in the air, Lu Kuan's feet stopped exploding. Just when Li Haiyang felt that he could control his own magic power, he saw Lu Kuan quickly fuse the two rods into an incomparably pitch-black giant rod. Facing that slightly dimmed yellow shield of his, Lu Kuan's earth-shattering attack smashed it to the ground. An even stronger numbing force was felt. At the same time, green and red flames appeared behind Lu Kuan's feet. In the roar, he chased after Li Haiyang at an even faster speed. Then, Lu Kuan's pitch-black giant rod was covered with white flames. He raised it high above his head, and the red and green shield around his body trembled. The second attack, Li Haiyang, together with the dimmed magic shield, was like a big rubber ball, violently smashing into the ground. And Lu Kuan was also stopped in midair by the reaction force. His eyes flashed with golden light, and his face was flushed red as he looked at the falling Li Haiyang. Shaking his head, he gave up on the third attack that he was supposed to have. He quickly took out the green flying boat from his storage bag and flew down. Boom! The ground shook and dust flew everywhere. Seeing this scene, the corners of the disciples' mouths twitched. The force of falling from hundreds of feet in the air was already incomparably terrifying. Coupled with Lu Kuan's two rods, they could not imagine what kind of force it was. The dust gradually dispersed. Lu Kuan had already controlled the green boat to land on the ground. There was a deep pit in the ground. Li Haiyang's magic shield had already disappeared, and his whole body was lying in the pit like a dead fish. However, his life force was quite strong. He did not die, but rather fainted from the shock. At this time, there was no need for Zhang Xingyu to announce the result. Everyone knew that the winner was Lu Kuan. This battle could be said to be even more shocking than the previous one. The previous battle between the two opponents was very exciting, but this battle refreshed their understanding of Lu Kuan's battle. This junior brother who had just advanced to the Foundation establishment stage, when fighting, was like a violent second-tier top demon beast. His pair of black rods were the demon beast's sharp claws. As long as he got close, he would fall into the rhythm of this human-shaped demon beast. They also all understood that Lu Kuan was faking it from the beginning, in order to make Li Haiyang lower his guard, and walked directly under Li Haiyang. Li Haiyang, and even the other spectating disciples, did not expect Lu Kuan's escape technique to be able to fly in the air in an instant. No. The short distance was even more terrifying than flying in the air. The rapid burst of speed was frightening. Soon after, Li Haiyang was hit by some unknown spell, and lost his flying boat and shield. If he had not cautiously used a high-grade defensive talisman, he would have been defeated in the air. After watching this battle, Yi Zetian and Sun Haowen, who originally did not put Lu Kuan in their eyes, revealed dignified expressions. This junior brother's attack power was not as high as theirs. Otherwise, he would not have been unable to break through his opponent's magic shield. However, his battle awareness was very frightening. He knew how to use the advantage of his divine ability and the effect of gravity to increase the power of his attacks. In the end, he was able to knock his opponent out. Zhang Xingyu, who was in the air, also revealed a shocked expression. Yesterday, Zhu Siming had told them in detail about Lu Kuan's body tempering technique. He could not help but think, Lu Shiji's body tempering technique is really terrifying. After cultivating his body, it is definitely not inferior to some second-tier demon beast. His strength might even be stronger. But what kind of divine ability is this green light? It can actually make a mid-stage foundation establishment cultivator unable to release his magic power? Could this be the unique divine ability of Lu Shiji's body tempering technique? My crafting peak has so many geniuses. In 100 years we will definitely prosper. Lu Kuan did not know of his core formation stage martial uncle's size. Looking at the dizzy Li Haiyang, his face was flushed with excitement. The day before, when he was fighting with senior martial brother Qing, he discovered that the fusion of the twin rods could produce a paralyzing effect. Only then did he realize that his white liquid magic power contained would attribute spiritual power. Moreover, he had also cultivated the mid-level vine technique. Because his technique combined fire and wood body tempering techniques, he unconsciously used the numbing power of the primordial tree during the battle. After careful research, he discovered that the source of this paralyzing power was the black rock that he had fused with his twin rods last time. Lu Kuan decided to spend some time fusing the remaining black rock into the unparalleled rod. Back then, when he was at the Great Circle of Qi Refinement, he was already able to refine top-grade magic tools. Now that he was at the early stage of foundation establishment and had a strong divine sense, he easily refined the two rods. In the end, they both turned black. This way, a single rod could also produce a paralyzing effect. This paralyzing effect was more obvious for early-stage foundation establishment cultivators. However, when faced with the profound magic power of a mid-stage foundation establishment cultivator, it was somewhat lacking. Therefore, when Lu Kuan started attacking Li Haiyang, he was still able to take out a defensive talisman. Then, Lu Kuan increased the frequency of his attacks and was able to interrupt the circulation of his opponent's magic power. As for sending him down from the sky, Lu Kuan wanted to unleash his immense strength to the maximum. He was attacking with magic tools, so his magic power could not be maximized. So how could he maximize his tens of thousands of kilograms of brute force? Using gravity. As expected, with the combination of brute force and the acceleration of gravity, it only took him 2 attacks to directly defeat the shield that was unusually strong for him. His golden eyes saw clearly that if the last paralyzing effect had not disappeared and Li Haiyang had thrown out a defensive talisman without any regard for his life, he really could have died. Chapter 159. In the Sunset Pavilion, the 3 core formation cultivators of the weapon refining peak were discussing Lu Kuan. Linghu Yi, the core formation stage old man with a haggard face, opened his mouth and said, "Junior brother Zhu, according to your previous description and today's competition, Lu Kuan's physical strength is comparable to a level 2 demonic beast. However, I feel that his most powerful aspect is his battle awareness." Zhang Xingyu added, "Yeah, I was already surprised that Lu Shizhi could defeat Li Haiyang. However, his next opponent is a late-stage foundation establishment cultivator. Whether it's cultivation or magic tools, he's much stronger than Lu Kuan. It'll be difficult for him to win." Ling Hui said, "Yeah, before he engraved a level 1 psychic array, his magic tool's attack power was still lacking. Previously, he took advantage of his opponent's defenseless state to defeat him. Doesn't that mean that after Lu Shizhi's magic tool is upgraded, his strength can be comparable to a late-stage foundation establishment cultivator?" Zhu Siming thought of something and said, "Could it be that cultivators with hidden spiritual roots are all-powerful? Back then, senior martial brother Nye was able to fight a late-stage foundation establishment cultivator with his early-stage foundation establishment cultivation. His strength is very similar to Lu Kuan's strength now." Zhang Xingyu shook his head and said, "It's not the same. We're all very clear about junior martial brother Nye's ability to hide his spiritual root. It's completely to increase his comprehension of wind-type magic. This allowed him to comprehend the wind shadow evasion technique and many other powerful wind-type magic. From there, he can increase his combat effectiveness. But I heard from junior martial brother Nye that Lu Kuan's ability to hide his spiritual roots isn't to increase his combat effectiveness, but to hide his divine sense. It seems that his combat effectiveness is related to his cultivation method." Zhu Siming nodded and said, "That's right. When Lu Kuan first entered the sect, my divine sense was comparable to an early-stage core formation cultivator, but I almost didn't discover the power of his divine sense. It can only be a unique ability of a hidden spiritual root. Right, his muscle magic power is also good at hiding. If it weren't for the materials of the spirit-controlling magic tool that accidentally activated his muscle magic power, senior martial brother Nye and I wouldn't even have discovered his true cultivation." Hearing Zhu Siming's words, Zhang Xingyu's eyes suddenly lit up and said, "Why didn't I think of this characteristic of Lu Kuan's cultivation method? What do you guys think about letting Lu Kuan carry out that mission?" When the two core-bearing stage cultivators heard this, their faces lit up with joy. Zhu Siming said, "That's great. If it's that mission, apprentice nephew Lu can completely disguise himself as an ordinary person. Normal core-bearing stage cultivators won't be able to detect him. Li's formation Li Yunaf, Li's Li Haiyang. Li Haiyang was Li's, Li, and Li was formation. Li Haiyang recalled the time when he crashed to the ground from a height of 1,000 feet at the speed of a meteor. At the same time, he couldn't use his magic power. He was so terrified that his heart was still beating rapidly. The feeling of being powerless to resist made him feel as if he had returned to being an ordinary person and no longer a high and mighty cultivator. He also faintly felt that junior brother Lu had the strength to launch another attack at the end and kill him alive. Li Haiyang was the only one who was letting his imagination run wild. The other three were meditating with their eyes closed, especially Lu Kuan and Yi Zetian. They were both trying their best to recover their magic power. Yi Zetian wasn't injured in the previous battle, but his magic power was greatly depleted. Originally, he didn't take Lu Kuan seriously, but things were different now. After his observation, this junior brother who had just advanced to the Foundation establishment realm was adept at discovering all the flaws in the enemy's defenses and then using them to his greatest advantage. He had to use his full strength and rely on his tyrannical cultivation base and level 3 magic weapon to suppress Lu Kuan, leaving him with no chance to counterattack. Moreover, he had to think of a way to deal with the opponent's strange escape technique. Following this, the late Foundation establishment disciple began to recover his magic power as he pondered over how he should deal with Lu Kuan in the next battle. At this time, Lu Kuan didn't think about anything else. He was only focused on recovering his magic power. Before the battle, he had already rehearsed the possible scenarios. His opponent was flying in the sky, and he had thought of a way to deal with it. It was to use the new escape technique that could only be used after reaching the foundation establishment stage. Back in the Smart Demon Valley, Lu Kuan used the exploding essence fire to increase the air thrust of his exploding essence step. That was why he was able to move horizontally in the air and escape with his life. After successfully reaching the foundation establishment stage, Lu Kuan discovered that the force of the exploding essence fire could be further increased. This was because his magic power also contained the wood attribute magic power. He could separate the two types of magic power. Using the wood attribute to ignite the exploding essence fire was like a rocket on Earth. It released a huge thrust backward and quickly pushed forward. As long as his magic power and physical body could support it, Lu Kuan could even continuously move and fly in the air. Unfortunately, this thrust was too great. There was no way for him to stay in the air, so it couldn't be considered as flying. Speaking of which, even if he taught this escape technique to others, they wouldn't be able to do it. If the explosive firepower under one's feet didn't have a dual-colored light shield and a demonic beast-like physical defense, the average cultivator would only use it once and their feet would be blasted into a bloody mess. A cultivator's magic power shield enveloped the body. At the very least, Lu Kuan had never heard of a magic power shield that was close to the skin. After careful consideration, he decided to use this powerful escape technique, which he named the Green Fire Escape Technique, when his opponent was flying in the air. After a period of time, Lu Kuan's magic power had already recovered. In the previous battle, he had mostly used his great strength. Because his magic tools hadn't been upgraded, his magic power wasn't used up much. Most of it was used on the Green Fire Escape Technique. Now that Senior Martial Brother Yi knows about my Green Fire Escape Technique, he'll definitely be on guard. According to Li Haiyang's reaction, against the tyrannical magic power of the late Foundation establishment stage, my numbing power is almost useless. Moreover, Senior Martial Brother Yi will definitely be on guard against my use of gravity. It seems that I can only use that move. After all, after I reached the Foundation establishment stage, this divine ability underwent some changes. Lu Kuan lowered his head and stared blankly at his arms. Half a day passed in the blink of an eye. Everyone had recovered their magic power. A fiery red figure flew from the Sunset Pavilion to the top of the spell formation. In the blink of an eye, it arrived above the spell formation. Every time Lu Kuan saw the flying speed of a core formation stage cultivator, he was speechless. With his current green wood escape technique, there was no way he could compare. This middle core formation stage Martial Uncle Zhang opened the spell formation and said, "Li Haiyang, Sun Haowen, the two of you will compete for third place." Then, he saw the pale-faced Li Haiyang walk into the spell formation. He said to Zhang Xingyu, who was in the air, "Martial Uncle Zhang, I give up on this competition. With my strength, I'm no match for Senior Martial Brother Sunday." Li Haiyang barely won yesterday's battle and entered the top 4. He was hoping that he could beat Lu Kuan, a new disciple, by a fluke. If he won, he could enter the 4th level and improve his cultivation speed. As for the other two Senior Martial Brothers, he didn't think he could beat them at all. Therefore, after he was defeated by Lu Kuan, he didn't even try and directly gave up. On the opposite side, Sun Haowen's expression was normal. He didn't look surprised. This Li Haiyang's spiritual roots were good, but his combat power was mediocre. His magic tools weren't good either. He really wasn't a match for Sun Haowen. When Zhang Xingyu heard Li Haiyang's words, he nodded and said, "Then next is the competition between Lu Kuan and Yi Zetian. The two of you can go on stage." Then, Lu Kuan and Yi Zetian entered the spell formation. Yi Zetian said with a serious expression, "Lu Shidi, I must win first place. I will use my full strength. If I miss, it's very likely that Martial Uncle Zhang won't be able to save you in time. If Junior Martial Brother can't hold on, just admit defeat." Otherwise, your life will be in danger. Lu Kuan looked at Yi Zetian's serious expression and his heart trembled. He knew that this senior martial brother wasn't just trying to scare him. He really would be ruthless. Lu Kuan replied, Senior martial brother Yi, junior martial brother also wants to obtain martial uncle Zhu's divine sense engraving technique. I can only do my best in this battle. Yi Zetian was silent and nodded. At this time, the spell formation also closed. Yi Zetian waved his hand and summoned 2 shining golden magic tools. The surrounding disciples were stunned. It turned out that the 2 magic tools he summoned were actually flywheels. However, they were both golden and not the white and gold ones he used yesterday. Looking at the 2 golden flywheels, one had a sharp edge on the periphery and the other had no sharp edge on the periphery. It was clear that these 2 magic tools were also for attack and defense. Senior martial brother Cheng, who was quite skilled in refining, looked at the pair of magic tools and his eyes lit up. He said, So the white flywheel from before was an imitation of these golden wheels. This pair of golden wheels is the real set of magic tools. The surrounding disciples were shocked when they heard this. This was a set of level 3 spirit communication magic tools. Just the conditions for using it were very harsh. Could it be that senior martial brother Ye's divine sense is also far superior to others? Many disciples couldn't help but have such doubts in their hearts. When Lu Kuan saw the golden wheels appear, he felt his hair stand on end. It was as if countless sharp blades were cutting him. He immediately activated a dual-colored light shield around his body. Then, he fused the unparalleled staff into a giant black staff in front of him. The strongest defense is offense. Moreover, the defense of my physical body is like heaven and earth compared to before. What is there to be afraid of? Chapter 160. Yi Zetian looked at Lu Kuan's burly figure rushing towards him. The 2 golden wheels in front of him merged together and began to rotate. Then, golden blades flashed from the edges of the wheels. Each of the golden blades had the power of a primary top-grade spell. Yi Zetian smiled slightly. His divine sense was average. Although he couldn't use the most powerful combination spell of the 2 wheels, he could still barely use a weaker combination spell. This move was much weaker than the most powerful combination spell, but for an early-stage foundation establishment cultivator, it was already a very powerful move. The primary top-grade slicing spells covered the sky and covered the earth. Lu Kuan couldn't dodge. No matter how fast his long staff magic tool was, it couldn't block all the slicing spells at the same time. Moreover, the defensive barrier of the early-stage foundation establishment cultivator couldn't block so many slicing spells. Lu Kuan felt the power of these spells. The fierceness in his eyes grew stronger. He directly rushed in with the giant staff. Why should I dodge these spells? Even the true fire of a foundation establishment cultivator couldn't melt my body in a short time. These slicing spells can't even reach the level of a mid-grade spell. What can they do to me? Lu Kuan rushed in for a short while, and the outermost layer of the magic barrier broke. Many disciples who were watching from the outside couldn't help but cry out. Some people even covered their eyes. They couldn't bear to see the tragic scene of Lu Kuan being dismembered. In their minds, cultivators who didn't use defensive magic tools and whose magic barrier was broken were bound to die. They couldn't understand why Lu Kuan went in to die. What? How is this possible? The disciples who closed their eyes couldn't help but open them when they heard the exclamations of the people around them. They stared blankly and couldn't believe what they saw. They saw that Lu Kuan's body was covered in a red and blue halo. It actually blocked all the slicing spells. What kind of defensive barrier is this? So Lu Shidi has a mid-grade or higher defensive spell. No wonder he dares to rush in like this. To be able to resist so many peak elementary cut spells, only a defensive spell that was 2 ranks higher than this would be able to do that. Yi Zetian was shocked as he watched Lu Kuan rampaging through the cutting technique. He didn't think that Lu Kuan, who had just advanced to the foundation establishment stage, would have talismans above the mid-level. This kind of talisman could only be activated by the liquid magical power of the foundation establishment stage. It was impossible for Lu Kuan to obtain it when he was in the qi condensation stage. Then Lu Kuan's defensive spell was cast by himself. Could it be that his mutated spirit root can cast mid-level defensive spells? Seeing that the cutting technique was ineffective, Lu Kuan closed in on him in the blink of an eye. Yi Zetian propped up his late-stage foundation establishment defensive barrier. At the same time, he waved his hand and separated the flywheel. The defensive flywheel swelled up and spun around his body at high speed, forming a tight defense. The other attacking flywheel also began to revolve around him. In the blink of an eye, the late-stage foundation establishment cultivator had set up 3 layers of defense. The outermost layer could still counterattack at any time. As he approached, Lu Kuan relied on the blue fire escape technique to bypass the outermost layer of the attacking flywheel. Then, he used the huge staff burning with white flames to strike the defensive flywheel. The force contained within the staff forced Li Haiyang back, causing him to stick to the defensive barrier behind him. This attack allowed Yi Zetian to understand why Lu Kuan was able to beat Li Haiyang to the point where he couldn't even retaliate. The huge force contained within Lu Kuan's huge staff was actually able to force his level 3 spiritual immortal treasure back. Coupled with gravity, it was completely capable of breaking through Li Haiyang's defense. In addition to the strength, there was also a trace of numbing force coming from the other party's staff, causing the circulation of his magical power to stagnate slightly. However, the numbing force was far weaker than Sun Haowen's lightning-type magic, so it didn't cause too much of an impact on his profound magical power. After Lu Kuan struck the defensive flywheel with his staff, he didn't even have time to strike a second time before the attacking flywheel on the outside attacked him with a sharp golden light. Lu Kuan had no choice but to change his move. He held the huge black staff horizontally. Bzzzt bzzzt. An ear-piercing sound of friction came from the 2 immortal treasures, accompanied by a large amount of sparks. Lu Kuan's arms trembled incessantly. His legs supported him on the ground. His pants were already torn by his bulging muscles, revealing the silver spiritual immortal treasure on his legs. The power of this level 3 spiritual immortal treasure was beyond his imagination. Under the control of the powerful magical power of the late foundation establishment stage, he almost couldn't block it in a hurry. Lu Kuan roared angrily. The green-red flames beneath his feet flashed, and he was about to push the attacking immortal treasure away. But at this moment, the golden defensive flywheel ruthlessly slammed into Lu Kuan's left shoulder from the side. Lu Kuan had already focused all his strength on his arms. Even the blue fire escape technique had been activated beneath his feet. There was simply no way for him to dodge. He was immediately knocked to the side by this sudden attack. The attacking flywheel, which was in a deadlock with him, flew past the huge black staff and slashed towards Lu Kuan's left arm. At this critical juncture, Lu Kuan's left arm suddenly expanded and contracted. At the same time, the golden flywheel shattered the dual-colored light barrier around Lu Kuan's body and passed by his enlarged arm. After staggering a few times, Lu Kuan stabilized his body. At this time, the clothes on his left arm were torn, and a bloody wound appeared. A few strands of blood flowed out. Because of the uneven strength in his arms, the unparalleled staff had also split into 2. At this time, the golden flywheel closely followed Lu Kuan, not giving Lu Kuan the slightest chance to catch his breath. Lu Kuan coldly snorted. The green-red flames beneath his feet flickered as he retreated. He used the telekinesis technique to combine the unparalleled staff and block the rapidly approaching flywheel. At the same time, his right hand flickered with white light as it pressed towards his left arm. The unparalleled staff, which was controlled by the telekinesis technique, was simply no match for the golden flywheel, and was directly sent flying. However, in this short moment, the wound on Lu Kuan's left arm had already healed and stopped bleeding. Soon after, Lu Kuan's feet flashed with flames as he jumped towards the retreating black stick. No one noticed that there was a faint wisp of black light in Lu Kuan's right hand, which was glowing with white light. He grabbed the huge staff with both hands and clashed with this powerful level 3 magic tool a few times. Although the huge staff in his hand was much more powerful than the telekinesis technique, he was only able to barely resist 1 or 2 attacks. His whole body was beaten back little by little. Yi Zetian looked at Lu Kuan's enscathed left arm and shock flashed in the depths of his eyes. He clearly saw that when the golden flywheel was about to hit Lu Kuan's arm, it instantly doubled in size. The golden flywheel cut open a silver arm guard behind his clothes. As if it had encountered resistance, it slid to the side. Could that silver arm guard be Lu Kuan's powerful defensive inner armor? But my golden flywheel has already cut it open. Although his heart was filled with doubts, Yi Zetian did not relax. The golden light on the attacking flywheel became more and more dazzling. Lu Kuan's face was a little pale. His rapid attack just now had failed and even allowed the opponent's golden flywheel to seize the opportunity. If he had not activated the giant arm's mystique for a moment and greatly increased the defensive power of his arm would have been cut off. The power of this level 3 spiritual immortal treasure was not something his physical body could withstand. Feeling the opponent's attack, Lu Kuan finally decided to use his giant arm's mystique. After he had reached the foundation establishment realm, coupled with his blood essence, he could already use it for a short period of time. Then, all the cultivators watching the battle saw Lu Kuan's sleeves tear open, revealing the shiny silver spirit-controlling arm guards. His arms had more than doubled in size. Lu Kuan looked at the enlarged spirit-controlling arm guards and could not help but sigh. Fortunately, he had used the black jade spider silk. Otherwise, using his giant arm's mystique would have damaged the spirit-controlling arm guards. Just as Lu Kuan's giant arms appeared, the giant staff in his hand trembled with excitement. The black color on it became even darker. At this time, Lu Kuan did not care about the giant staff's reaction. He activated the blue fire escape technique and dodged the attack of the golden flywheel. Then, he shot towards Yi Zetian. Yi Zetian felt a headache coming on because of Lu Kuan's escape technique. He could only use the same trick again. However, the attacking flywheel was a little far away. As long as his inner defensive flywheel blocked 2 attacks, he could come back to help. In the blink of an eye, Lu Kuan arrived in front of Yi Zetian. He did not directly attack the defensive flywheel. Instead, he activated the blue fire escape technique with one leg. His whole body spun and swung the black giant staff at the defensive flywheel from the side. Boom! Under the display of Lu Kuan's giant arms, the giant staff's power seemed to have doubled. It directly sent the defensive flywheel flying. Then, the giant staff burned with white flames and hit Yi Zetian's mana shield, whose face changed slightly. This attack caused the mana shield to become slightly dimmer. It was clear to see the power of Lu Kuan's giant arm's mystique. At this time, Lu Kuan's hands loosened the giant black staff. A pitch-black light shot out from his hands and hit the slightly dimmed mana shield. This black light directly exploded. An aura that caused people's hearts to palpitate erupted. In an instant, the slightly dimmed mana shield was blown to pieces. Lu Kuan grabbed the giant staff again and attacked. Chapter 161. Lu Kuan stood in front of Yi Zetian, holding the giant staff with both hands. The white flames on the staff had already been extinguished, and it was only 3 or 4 inches away from Yi Zetian. This late Foundation establishment senior brother had a calm expression, but his pupils were still dilated. He was clearly shocked by Lu Kuan's terrifying black light. Drip! A drop of sweat dripped down. Lu Kuan's face was incomparably pale, and his forehead was covered in cold sweat. It turned out that the golden flying wheel was slowly rotating next to Lu Kuan's neck. The sharp aura on it caused countless goosebumps to appear on his neck. Lu Kuan and Yi Zetian looked at each other for a while. When they saw that the other was not going to kill, they smiled at each other and put away their respective immortal treasures. Lu Kuan watched as the level 3 spiritual immortal treasure was put away. He wiped his sweat and couldn't help but say, at such a critical moment, senior brother Yi was actually able to calmly continue to use his immortal treasure to attack. It's truly admirable. Yi Zetian let out a breath of turbid air and said, Junior brother, you were merciful. Otherwise, your senior brother would have been dead by now. Then he revealed a puzzled expression and asked, but junior brother, what was that black light at the end? It was too fast, and I couldn't see it clearly. Judging from its aura, it seemed to be. Lu Kuan smiled and said, that's right. It was a self-destructing immortal treasure. After releasing its greatest power, it dissipated. So this self-destructing immortal treasure was Lu Kuan's supreme-grade flying dagger immortal treasure. Yesterday, after Lu Kuan had merged all the black rocks into his matchless staff, he discovered that there were still 2 very small rocks left. He had an idea and merged one of them into his flying dagger immortal treasure. He didn't know if it was because the flying dagger was too small, or if it was for some other reason, but after the small black rock merged with the dagger, it became somewhat unstable. Lu Kuan used his powerful spiritual sense to carve a self-destructing array and refine the flying dagger into a self-destructing immortal treasure. After the refining was successful, the flying dagger turned black. It was because of this throwing knife that Lu Kuan almost missed the competition. In the battle just now, Lu Kuan and Yi Zetian had exchanged blows and realized that this senior martial brother was extremely cautious. His defensive barrier at the late Foundation establishment stage was extremely strong. If nothing unexpected happened, his magic power would be exhausted. Therefore, he had to end the battle in a short period of time and use his greatest explosive power to break the barrier. He had to end the battle before the opponent could use a defensive talisman or re-release a magical shield. Therefore, after he used the giant arm theurgy, he took advantage of the fact that his opponent's dermic force shield was a little dim and unexpectedly threw out this flying knife self-destructing dermic artifact. It was as if the black rock material was very compatible with his giant arm, allowing it to unleash its greatest power. Because the flying dagger was a self-exploding magic item, Lu Kuan's Foundation establishment stage mana could fully unleash the power it should have. Coupled with the terrifying power of the giant arm theurgy, in such a short distance, the power was incomparably terrifying. After breaking the late Foundation establishment stage barrier, Lu Kuan planned to use only a bit of brute force to knock the opponent unconscious. It was also at this time that senior martial Uncle Zhang shouted. At the same time, Lu Kuan also noticed the golden flywheel near his neck. The two of them faced each other. When Yi Zetian heard Lu Kuan say self-destructing dermic artifact, he was even more confused. When a Foundation establishment stage cultivator uses a self-destructing dermic artifact, they can indeed unleash the power of liquid dermic force. However, the power should not be this great. The attack just now was able to break through most of a late Foundation establishment stage cultivator's barrier. The same attack could even kill a middle Foundation establishment stage cultivator in an instant. At this moment, Zhang Xingyu descended from the sky with a look of lingering fear. He had shouted "Stop!" just now because he saw that the two of them might perish together. That was why he had shouted in a moment of desperation. Of the two of them, one was the disciple with the strongest refining skills on the 3rd level, while the other had extraordinary potential. No matter what, his weapon refinement peak could not afford to lose them. Seeing the two of them talking and laughing, Zhang Xingyu couldn't help but shake his head and think to himself, most of the disciples in our weapon refinement peak don't scheme against each other. The truly powerful disciples put all their efforts into refining weapons and painstakingly study them. Even if these disciples lack spirit stones and cultivation resources, they can easily exchange for them with their excellent refining skills. There are pros and cons to this. The good thing is that their refining skills are becoming more and more exquisite, and they might be able to refine unexpected dharmic artifacts. The bad thing is that if they don't have the protection of the Yang clan, they will unknowingly be plotted against in the cruel competition for resources outside. Fortunately, there will be large-scale battles in the future, and they will also go out to interact with the disciples of the major sects in Wei Nation. Many disciples can have a good experience. Then, he looked at the two disciples. This Yi Zetian is so desperate because of junior brother Zhu's divine sense engraving technique. I'm afraid Lu Kuan has the same goal. Zhang Xingyu had a few ideas in his mind. He looked at the surrounding disciples and announced in a clear voice, Yi Zetian and Lu Kuan have tied. I announce that the two of them are tied for first place. Both of them will be able to obtain junior apprentice brother Zhu's divine sense engraving technique. The surrounding disciples were not surprised at all. They had seen the scene just now. If they really wanted to determine the winner, the two of them might have died just now. Relingan's disciple, Sun Haowen, had a look of dissatisfaction on his face. In his opinion, Lu Kuan could not resist his lightning-type dharmic art except for the last black light. His thunderball was Lu Kuan's nemesis in close combat. He even felt that if Lu Kuan was hit by his thunderball once, all of his attacking methods would be interrupted by the surging numbness. After seeing Lu Kuan fight with Li Haiyang and Yi Zetian, Sun Haowen and the other disciples forgot about Lu Kuan's mutated spirit root. No one even asked about the attributes of Lu Kuan's spirit roots. They only had Lu Kuan's powerful close combat methods in their minds. As for the black light, many of the people present, including those who were skilled in weapon refinement, guessed that it was a self-destructing dharmic artifact. Zhu Siming, who was in the Sunset Pavilion, could not help but smile bitterly when he heard his senior brother Zhang talk to himself and promise the secret technique he had created on his own. Of course, he knew about Yi Zetian, who was skilled in weapon refinement. He was much older than Yi Zetian. Back then, Yi Zetian had received his guidance in the art of engraving spiritual arrays. Therefore, Yi Zetian had always regarded him as his master. In terms of weapon refinement, Yi Zetian, Sun Haowen, and Qing Qian, who was about the same age as him and was proficient in the art of flying needles, were not weak. However, his divine sense carving technique had to be learned by someone with a powerful divine sense to be able to unleash its full potential. Being able to carve out highly difficult psychic spirit arrays and even the spirit arrays of pseudo-dharma treasures, this was the most powerful weapon a foundation establishment cultivator could use. Forget it. Since that's the case, I will also teach it to Yi Zetian. It will also be beneficial for his weapon refinement. Not long after, Zhang Xingyu brought Lu Kuan, Yi Zetian, and Sun Haowen to the Sunset Pavilion. Zhang Xingyu said to them, "Take out your tokens. The fourth floor requires a core formation cultivator to imprint their dharmic powers on it." Hearing this, Lu Kuan and Yi Zetian were quite excited. Even Sun Haowen, who was somewhat depressed, could not help but reveal a happy expression. Without mentioning anything else, the cultivation environment on the fourth floor was the greatest reward. After the tokens were imprinted with their dharmic powers, Zhang Xingyu gave each of them a restriction formation plate with their names engraved on it. This is your Immortals Cave formation token. There are only a few Immortals Caves here. Activate the restriction formation plate and you will be able to find it. At this time, Zhu Siming had already made 2 copies of his jade slip and handed one to Lu Kuan and Yi Zetian. He said, "This is my divine sense engraving technique. You must swear a divine sense oath that after learning it, you will destroy this jade slip." Lu Kuan and Yi Zetian nodded and swore solemnly. Then Zhang Xingyu said, familiarize yourselves with your new immortals' caves. 7 days later, when the sun rises, come to the sunset pavilion. We have something to tell you. Chapter 162. On the 4th floor of the refining peak, in front of a brand new attic with red tiles and gray pillars, a burly man walked out. His expression was quite emotional. It was Lu Kuan who was looking for a cave residence. This attic dedicated to refining is actually exactly the same as Marshal Uncle Nie's refining pavilion. The quality of the refining furnace is not only good, but there are also many basic materials inside, and there are many refining jade slips. These materials and jade slips are worth thousands of contribution points. No wonder many people want to go to the 4th floor. Then he looked at the large and small Dharma plates in his hand. This Dharma plate can be divided into two, into a child and a mother plate. The child plate controls the restriction of this refining attic, and the mother plate can control both. In this case, a lot of the basic work of refining can be handed over to the low-level disciples. I don't have to worry about these disciples disturbing my cultivation. After muttering for a while, Lu Kuan walked to the side of the cave residence. At the same time, the Dharma plate in his hand flashed, opened the restriction, and walked in. After entering, Lu Kuan found that this cave residence was more than twice the size of the 3rd floor. There were new knife and axe marks on the stone walls, and it was still filled with the fresh smell of mountain rocks and soil. Many of the items in the cave residence were new. This cave residence was built by them. Did they not plan to let so many disciples enter the 4th floor before? Whether it is new or old, this cave residence will be my residence for the next 100 years. After checking the cave residence, Lu Kuan sat in the hall and took out the unparalleled rod that had turned black. In the previous battle, he clearly felt that the giant arms enhancement of the unparalleled rod was a little too strong. That blow destroyed a small half of the spiritual power shield of the late Foundation establishment stage, and the power of the self-exploding flying dagger that was also mixed with the black rock was far beyond his expectations. By the way, when I took Xiao Jin into the spiritual demon valley, I heard it say that there was something related to our bloodline in the spiritual demon valley. Is it this black rock? Lu Kuan suddenly remembered Xiao Jin's reaction to the spiritual demon valley. I didn't take Xiao Jin the second time I went to the spiritual demon valley, and I was in a hurry to collect resources, so I didn't think about this at all. Now that there are some changes in the spiritual demon valley, and I have entered the Foundation establishment stage, and I don't have to worry about the yellow demonic fog. Should I explore it again? Lu Kuan couldn't help but have this idea in his mind. Then he shook his head and whispered, "My first task now is to temper my bones, to contain the liquid qi, and finally, I'll break through to the middle stage of the Foundation establishment stage." Oh, Xiao Jin seems to be back. The cave residence's defensive formation, Xiao, spiritual power of the cave residence, but the cave residences of the cave residence, but of the cave residences, Xiao Jin could find him. The cave residences cans Zhaozazazazas could find him. Xiao, little Kuan. Little bit more to help s little Xiao, little. At this time, a sound transmission glyph flew in from outside the cave residence. Lu Kuan listened and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He said to himself, "I didn't think they would all come." Afterwards, Lu Kuan took out a formation plate, tapped it a few times, and opened the cave residence's restriction. A few figures walked in, and the leading little gray monkey quickly jumped onto Lu Kuan's shoulder. "Congratulations, Master, on advancing to the Foundation establishment stage." 2 men and a woman bowed to Lu Kuan and congratulated him. So the people who came were Lu Kuan's disciples, Zhao Qingtian, Sher Chao, and Luo Xuanyu, whose cultivation had been crippled. These 3 people's appearances had changed a bit. Zhao Qingtian's body was much more robust than before, with sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes. He was the living embodiment of a heroic general. His cultivation had reached the peak of qi refining stage 12. What surprised Lu Kuan was that this Zhao Qingtian's divine sense was quite strong, even stronger than normal great circle of refining stage cultivators. Sher Chao was a bit taller, but her body was still very slender. Her exposed skin gave people a feeling of firmness and elasticity. Her cultivation had also reached the great circle of refining stage. Finally, Luo Xuanyu looked like a mortal, without a trace of magic power fluctuations. However, his body was much taller and more robust than a few years ago, and his entire body seemed to be filled with explosive power. Zhao Qingtian saw that Lu Kuan was observing them, so he went up and said with a smile, "Master, on the way here, we've already heard many disciples talking about Master's powerful strength. The busybodies all call Master the second senior brother of the Foundation establishment stage disciples. Master, is your strength really comparable to the late Foundation establishment stage?" Lu Kuan shook his head and said, "My immortal treasure has yet to be upgraded to a spiritual immortal treasure. My strength is still quite far from the late Foundation establishment stage." Sher Chao didn't quite agree, and said with a serious face, "Just look at the supreme grade immortal treasures you gave us. Master's refining skills are extraordinary. Immortal treasures can be upgraded very easily. Isn't the late Foundation establishment stage strength stable?" Along the way, Luo Xuanyu heard many disciples describe Master's battles. He was dazzled and asked blankly, "Master, you're so strong. Is it because of the body cultivation technique?" Lu Kuan didn't directly answer. He first used his divine sense to scan and didn't discover Luo Xuanyu's magic power fluctuations. Then, he poured his divine sense into his eyes and activated the golden eye ability. Only then did he see that there was magic power in the depths of Luo Xuanyu's muscles. Lu Kuan asked, "Xian Yu, you've started cultivating the elemental fire body refining technique?" Luo Xuanyu gave a simple and honest smile. Just as he was about to speak, he was interrupted by Zhao Qingtian. He only heard Zhao Qingtian say, "Little junior brother has already successfully converted the magic power in his muscles. Now he has the cultivation of the middle qi refining stage." At the same time as Zhao Qingtian was describing, Luo Xuanyu activated the magic power in his muscles. Lu Kuan felt that this cultivation was around the 7th level of the qi refining stage. In his heart, he somewhat understood. Even with his middle foundation establishment stage divine sense, he couldn't see the magic power in Luo Xuanyu's muscles. It seemed that the most powerful aspect of the body refining technique was the concealment of magic power. Early on, when he first created the body refining technique, he guessed that if other people cultivated the elemental fire body refining technique, they wouldn't be able to reach the late qi refining stage without the power of bloodline or a special body. Sure enough, after Luo Xuanyu achieved great success in the Vajra esoteric art and cultivated the elemental fire body refining technique, he only reached the middle qi refining stage. Lu Kuan looked at the three people and said, "Among the three of you, only Xian Yu has completely walked my path. Xian Yu, the magic power in your muscles now can also release spells, right?" Luo Xuanyu nodded and said, "Yes, Master. The magic power in my muscles is the same as the magic power that I cultivated from the foundation technique. I can freely use all kinds of spells and magic tools." Lu Kuan said again, "Later I'll teach you the elemental explosion steps, the elemental fire divine ability, as well as one of my body-controlling flying techniques. In addition, when you use magic tools in the future, use them to attack and defend." On the side, Zhao Qingtian heard Lu Kuan's words and his eyes lit up. He said in astonishment, "Wielding magic tools is Master's great divine ability that can defeat late Foundation establishment stage cultivators." Lu Kuan smiled. "What great divine ability?" It's just a battle method that is most suitable for us body cultivators. The purpose is to unleash the enormous strength of the physical body that far surpasses others. I'll teach you all this later. Did you come here this time to ask about the problem of advancing to foundation establishment? Zhao Qingtian nodded and said, Master, my sister and I have already mastered the Vajra arts. However, Master told us not to cultivate the body refining art first. After hearing that Master had reached foundation establishment, we knew that Master must have figured out the body refining arts foundation establishment method. We've already felt the benefits of the Vajra art. In these few years, we've rarely failed in our missions. We've also obtained the foundation establishment pill. Lu Kuan couldn't help but sigh and said, That's right, I've created the body refining arts foundation establishment method. However, my situation is different from yours. Since you have the foundation establishment pill, use it to reach foundation establishment first. Lu Kuan pondered for a moment and said, After foundation establishment, Qingtian, cultivate the elemental wood body refining art and continue tempering your physical body. The magic power cultivated from this is the same as your cultivation technique, both of them being of the wood attribute. It will allow your battle endurance to be stronger. Then Lu Kuan said to Sher Chao, However, Schwerer, your ice spirit root is especially suitable for water attribute cultivation techniques. I don't have a water attribute body refining art at the moment, so I can't teach you. Chapter 163. Schwerer, what's wrong? Lu Kuan couldn't help but ask when he saw Sher Chao's expression. Sher Chao's expression was bashful as she dawdled and said, Master, about that, my Jade Sun Peak's martial ancestor Wang said that she would take me in as a disciple after I reached the foundation establishment stage and teach me the profound ice arts. But I've already acknowledged you as my master, so Lu Kuan laughed and said, After I take you in as my disciple, I'll only be guiding you onto the path of cultivation. Apart from that, I'll only be teaching you the Vajra arts. I don't have any suitable body refinement techniques for you at the moment. I've also heard of that martial aunt Wang. If you acknowledge her as your master, you'll have someone to guide you in your foundation establishment cultivation. Besides, it's not a big deal for one person to have two masters. Sher Chao's eyes lit up. That's right, no one said that you can only have one master. I'll have two masters in the future. One is a core formation cultivator, and the other is a powerful cultivator comparable to a late foundation establishment cultivator. Let's see who dares to bully me. At this moment, Zhao Qingtian's face was also full of joy as he cried out, That's great! My Wan will acknowledge martial ancestor Wang as her master after reaching the foundation establishment stage. This way, I'll be Wan junior martial sister's brother by blood. Our relationship will be closer, and my chances will be greater. Lu Kuan's mouth twitched as he listened to Zhao Qingtian's nonsense. He had heard Zhao Qingtian mention this Wan before. She was a little girl who entered the sect together with him. She was indeed a beauty. It was normal for Zhao Qingtian to pursue her. Lu Kuan didn't think too much about it. Next, he taught Zhao Qingtian and Luo Xuanyu how to wield magic tools and set magic tools. However, only Luo Xuanyu could learn the essence explosion steps, essence fire, and body manipulation flying technique. As for Zhao Qingtian, Lu Kuan taught him the essence tree body refinement arts recovery technique and the technique to numb one's magic power. As for Sher Chao, she was satisfied after mastering the Vajra arts. She smiled foolishly at the side. Half a day later, Zhao Qingtian and Sher Chao left the cave. But Luo Xuanyu's eyes was left behind. Seeing Luo Xuanyu's words hesitating, he asked, Xian Yu, do you have something's up? But not long ago, I finally found out how my father's is. Not long ago, all ses and the s. teat, sts, sssssts, s's. Only now did Lu Kuan remember the matter between Luo Xuanyu ants. However, he asked doubtfully, Xian Yu, I've heard a bit about Luo clans, mid-chi refinings and above, swear not to harms. Luo Xuanyu said hatefully, indeed, not. That year, my father was traveling with 2 foundation establishment disciples. The son of one of them was Law Xianhua, the one who crippled my karma. The other foundation establishment disciple also had a son. However, his aptitude was much worse than Law Xianhua. He's only at the mid-chi refining stage now. This mid-chi refining Luo clan's disciple knew me. Not long ago, when he met me in the market, he humiliated me. At that time, he accidentally let it slip. He said that my father was killed by a disciple of the miraculous gate, and that his father just watched as my father was killed and didn't offer any help. Upon hearing this, Lu Kuan frowned and said, Xiaxianists usually kill people to steal their treasures. But your father was killed by a disciple of the miraculous gate. Based on the temperament of the disciples of the miraculous gate, even if the Luo clan's disciple didn't help, he wouldn't have gotten any benefits. So, your father's death must have been beneficial to them. Luo Xuanyu murmured, could it be my father discovered the Luo clan's unspeakable secret? Lu Kuan lowered his head and pondered, why would a disciple of the miraculous gate kill someone in front of the Luo clan for no reason? Then, he understood. His expression changed slightly as he asked, when did that Luo clan's disciple spill the beans? Luo Xuanyu recalled, 7 or 8 days ago. Master, why are you asking? Lu Kuan's expression was serious as he said, as a foundation establishment disciple of the crafting peak, and now that I'm living on the 4th floor, I have the right to accept disciples. The Vajra Esoteric Arts 7th layer allows you to change your appearance. After you change your appearance, enter my crafting peak. I'll talk to Martial Uncle Zhang about this. Luo Xuanyu finally understood Lu Kuan's meaning. That Luo clan's disciple spilled the beans. If other people found out, they'd definitely think of a way to silence him in order to keep the secret. Lu Kuan continued, for the time being, you should bury this matter in your heart. The Luo clan's direct descendant has a core formation cultivator. He's not someone we can contend against. If you want to take revenge, cultivating to the foundation establishment stage is the right path. Lu Kuan thought for a moment and said, how about this? You can change your name to Yuxian. You can stay in my Immortal's cave and wait for me to help you get the Crafting Peak's identity token. Then, you can move to the 2nd floor and accept the gate's missions. You're at the middle stage of the aura refining stage. Lu Kuan thought for a moment and said, no, this matter is too important. I'll go now. Soon after, Lu Kuan hurriedly left the Immortal's cave, leaving Xiao Jin and Luo Xuanyu to look at each other in dismay. After an entire day, Lu Kuan returned with a solemn expression. He tossed a token to Luo Xuanyu and said, Xian Yu, no, from now on, you'll be called Yuxian. Remember, you can't let anyone know about this. When you show your face outside, you must change your appearance. Luo Xuanyu, Yuxian should be Yuxian, asked in a daze. Even senior martial brother and senior martial sister can't do it? Lu Kuan said resolutely, no. If you want to take revenge, don't tell them. Moreover, they'll soon build their foundation. With your current cultivation level, you'll only be a burden to them. I'll explain it to them. Yuxian looked a bit sad when he thought about how he couldn't reunite with Sher Chao. However, when he thought about how they were about to build their foundation while he himself was still in the middle stage of the aura refining realm, even if they reunited, he wouldn't have the courage to confess to Sher Chao. Thus, he secretly made up his mind. Master cultivates the body refining technique to build his foundation. He can even contend with late-stage foundation building cultivators. My aptitude isn't high, but if I successfully build my foundation using Master's technique, my strength definitely won't be weak. At that time, I'll be worthy of Senior Marshal Sister Schwer. Moreover, I'll only have a chance to take revenge after I build my foundation. Lu Kuan didn't know what Yu Xian was thinking. He continued, this token already has Yu Xian's information. When you return, you still have to do the entry mission. The mission to refine fine iron is very suitable for our technique. You can consider choosing this one. Yu Xian said firmly, okay, Master. I'll take this mission. Lu Kuan said, this token is the restriction array disk of your Immortals Cave's second floor. You can go to the first floor to take the refining mission. Yu Xian nodded and changed his appearance into a slightly fierce-looking young man. It was completely different from his previous delicate and pretty face. Then, he left Lu Kuan's Immortals Cave and went to the lower floor. Chapter 164. Thinking of Nie Wufeng, Lu Kuan couldn't help but look at his left arm. After taking off his robe, he could see that there was a smooth notch on the spirit-controlling celestial tool on his left arm. Lu Kuan frowned and said, this spirit-controlling celestial artifact was forged from earth fire, so it has some resistance against primordial fire. However, its other defensive capabilities are not high. Even Foundation Establishment Stage Cultivator's celestial artifacts and spells can destroy it. Fortunately, after I advanced to the Foundation Establishment Stage, the light shield can barely leave my skin for a distance to protect the spirit-controlling celestial tool. Otherwise, when I fought with Senior Apprentice Brother Yi, more than half of this spirit-controlling celestial tool would have been destroyed by the cutting technique. If the light shield's defensive capabilities were insufficient, causing the spirit-controlling celestial tool to be destroyed, then my only path would be defeat. After muttering to himself, Lu Kuan removed the damaged part of the spirit-controlling celestial tool. Then, he took out a small piece of silver-white ore and a small section of transparent spider silk from his storage bag. White flames flickered in his hands, calcining these items. His current primordial fire was completely on the same level as the Foundation Establishment Stage's Mana True Fire. Calcining these materials was abnormally easy. Moreover, his hands could directly touch this white flame without the protection of the light shield. Lu Kuan seemed to be kneading plasticine, using his fingers to fuse the softened materials. Finally, with the cooperation of his divine sense, this spirit-controlling celestial tool was repaired in the time it took for an incense stick to burn. If Nie Wufeng saw Lu Kuan forge a celestial tool like this, his jaw would have long dropped in shock. This means that many parts that cannot be adjusted by divine sense, Lu Kuan can adjust with his nimble hands. After putting on this repaired spirit-controlling celestial tool again, Lu Kuan muttered to himself, I remember Martial Uncle Nie once said that if the spirit-controlling celestial tool can be integrated into the body, it would be the best outcome. But only magic treasures can have this characteristic. I heard from Senior Brother Qin that Brother Gu has been in seclusion all this time. When he comes out of seclusion, we'll pay him a visit and see if there are any other solutions. Then, Lu Kuan took out a small section of spider silk from his storage bag. An enchanting figure appeared in his mind, and he murmured, I promised Shin Mengyao that I would look for her after I reach the Foundation Establishment Stage. I don't know what mission Martial Uncle Zhang and the others have. If it's not particularly urgent, I'll go to the Miraculous Gate first. Lu Kuan couldn't help but feel a little dazed when he thought of that little fairy. Creak, creak. Xiao Jin's cry woke Lu Kuan up. Lu Kuan then remembered something. He patted his head and said to Xiao Jin, do you still remember the Smart Demon Valley? When the little gray monkey heard these words, it immediately became excited and squeaked crazily. When Lu Kuan heard this, he said, Yes, yes, you said that there was something related to the power of our bloodline. Look, is this it? With that, Lu Kuan took out the last small piece of black rock and handed it to Xiao Jin. Xiao Jin held the small rock and looked a little excited. Then, it kept sniffing it, shaking its head and nodding. Then, it called out a few words to Lu Kuan. Lu Kuan's expression changed slightly, and he whispered, "You said that this has something to do with our bloodline, but there is something more important in the Smart Demon Valley." He suddenly thought of the egg-shaped yellow stone in the deepest part of this black rock island. However, this stone was extremely strange. It could easily suck a second-level demon beast dry. At present, he didn't dare to peek at it again. Then what's the use of this black rock? Xiao Jin, do you know? After fusing it into an artifact, my giant arm Theurgy will be able to unleash great power. Then, Lu Kuan saw Xiao Jin's blank expression and said self-deprecatingly, "How could Xiao Jin know about such a strange material?" Squeak, squeak. But Xiao Jin still called out a few words. "Your bloodline has some memories of this black rock, but you can't recall it now. It's fine if you can't remember it for now. It shouldn't affect me from inscribing the psychic array." "Oh right, Xiao Jin, aren't you looking for Little Gray?" Lu Kuan just remembered that Xiao Jin had returned so quickly. After Xiao Jin heard Lu Kuan's words, his eyes flashed with a determined expression. He muttered incessantly, and at the same time, he clenched his fists and waved them around. "Little Gray is going to advance to a second-level demon beast? Haha, no wonder you were in a hurry to come back. You must want to advance as soon as possible. Otherwise, after Little Gray advances, you can only be bullied." Squeak, squeak. Lu Kuan lowered his head and pondered for a while, then said, "Xiao Jin, your advancement to a second-level demon beast is very different from my foundation establishment. How do you liquefy your demon spiritual energy?" Following that, Lu Kuan and Xiao Jin had a deep conversation and found out about the differences between demon beasts. This was also something that Xiao Jin understood when he was hanging out with Little Gray. It turns out that when a demon beast advances to a second-level demon beast, as long as the strength of its physical body reaches a certain level, the demon spiritual energy in its body will naturally liquefy. Therefore, many peak-tier first-level demon beasts spend time. When the time is up, their physical body will naturally be strengthened by the demon spiritual energy. After that, they will naturally transform and advance to a second-level demon beast. Xiao Jin witnessed Lu Kuan's advancement to the foundation establishment realm. Using his strange innate ability, he listened to the entire process of Lu Kuan's physical body's transformation. He knew that this method would also work on him, but he needed Lu Kuan to help him recover. With the density of Lu Kuan's current Fa, the separated wood type Fa would be more than enough to support his advancement. After Lu Kuan and Xiao Jin finished discussing the problem of demon beast advancement, he said, "Xiao Jin, for me to advance, I need to compress the liquid Fa before I can use the wood type Fa to stimulate the fire type Fa. If you don't need to condense it, then the wood type Fa that I separated will only be used to repair your physical body. You also know how to use the elemental fire and elemental fire shield. Let's palms face each other. I will take the initiative to inject the wood type Fa into your body. You only need to circulate it to repair your body. Once you've adjusted yourself, you can begin your breakthrough." Seeing Xiao Jin's serious expression nod, Lu Kuan sat cross-legged in front of Xiao Jin. On the other hand, Xiao Jin stood and closed his eyes to recall Lu Kuan's advancement method. A pair of monkey claws pressed against Lu Kuan's hand. Xiao Jin could use Lu Kuan's elemental fire body tempering art with demonic spiritual power. The same red elemental fire shield entered Xiao Jin's body and protected the internal parts of his muscles. Then, a yellow demonic fire directly burned in Xiao Jin's muscles. At the same time, Lu Kuan separated the wood type Fa from the liquid Fa and injected it into Xiao Jin through his palm. With a painful expression, Xiao Jin gritted his teeth and adjusted his muscles. He circulated the elemental wood body tempering arts recovery technique to repair his burning flesh. Lu Kuan was fully aware of the pain of burning flesh. Looking at Xiao Jin's expression, he couldn't help showing some concern. Even though Xiao Jin's demonic spiritual power was very dense after reaching the level of a top-tier demonic beast, it was almost consumed in half a day under such burning. Then, Xiao Jin guided spiritual energy into his body and converted it into demonic spiritual power to maintain the burning of the elemental fire. Fortunately, the spiritual energy here was much denser than the place where Lu Kuan built his foundation. Xiao Jin's demonic spiritual power was replenished more efficiently. Chapter 165. A few days later, the red sun had already passed the clouds in the distance and climbed into the sky. On the top floor of the Sunset Pavilion, there were several figures standing. Among them was a burly old man wearing a red robe. He was frowning and there was a hint of anger in his eyes. Beside the red-robed old man was a kind-looking old man with an indifferent expression. They were the two core formation stage cultivators of the weapon refining peak, Zhang Xingyu and Zhu Siming. For some reason, the other core formation stage cultivator, Ling Hu Yi, was not here. Standing behind them were two foundation establishment stage disciples. One of them was a middle-aged man wearing a black robe. He was quite steady. The other was handsome and had a slightly impatient expression. They were Yi Zetian and Sun Haowen. When the sun rose for a while, a burly man wearing a black robe slowly flew over on a blue boat. This person's eyes were a little red and his aura looked very weak. Zhu Siming used his divine sense to sense Lu Kuan who was flying over. He had a strange expression. When he landed on the Sunset Pavilion, he asked, "Lu Kuan, why did you come so late and your aura is so weak?" Lu Kuan said tiredly, reporting to Martial Uncle Zhu, "Martial Nephew's spirit beast has just successfully advanced. I used my Fa to help and was a little tired, so I came late." Yi Zetian on the side was not too surprised. Sun Haowen immediately showed a look of surprise. For a foundation establishment stage cultivator to use Fa to help, it was most likely a level 2 demonic beast. It was hard to imagine that Lu Shidi's spirit beast could advance to the liquid level after him. This also showed that his strength was not only what it showed in the competition. Even the two core formation stage cultivators were surprised after hearing this. Of course, they knew that the spirit beast Lu Kuan was talking about was Xiao Jin. In their eyes, it was already quite difficult for the little gray monkey to be able to tie with the silver spot leopard cub at the top level. Yet, it was able to advance into a Class 2 demonic beast so quickly. One had to know that it had only been a Class 1 demonic beast for a few years, and its aptitude was comparable to the silver spot leopard. The displeasure on Zhang Xingyu's face faded a little as he said, "Since you're all here, I'll tell you about this mission. Each of you has a different mission." Subsequently, the burly old man looked at Sun Haowen and said, "Sun Haowen, your mission is the most urgent. You need to go to the furthest Song province. This mission will be led by Junior Brother Luo of the Azure Sun Peak. You will report to Junior Brother Luo at the 4th floor of the Azure Sun Peak tomorrow morning." At the same time, Zhang Xingyu took out a jade scroll and tossed it to Sun Haowen before continuing, "The details of the mission are all written in this jade scroll. Furthermore, this jade scroll has my magical imprint. Once you give it to Junior Brother Luo Yuechi of the Blue Sun Peak, he will know that you are a disciple sent by my weapon refinement peak to carry out this mission." Sun Haowen took the jade scroll and used his divine sense to explore it. His expression changed, as if he had seen something inconceivable. Zhang Xingyu snorted and said, "Martial Nephew Sun, now swear a divine sense oath that you will not reveal the mission's contents to anyone else. Go back and prepare immediately." Seeing Sun Haowen in a daze for a while, he finally recovered from the mission and swore a divine sense oath. Zhang Xingyu continued, "This mission is not too dangerous. Other than you, there are 3 other Foundation establishment stage disciples participating in this mission. This Jade Scroll also states that they do not know the mission's content. Everything will be led by you." Sun Haowen gradually recovered from the shock of the mission. Instead, he revealed a faint expression of excitement as he said, "Yes, Martial Uncle Zhang. I, Sun Haowen, will definitely make the weapon refinement peak famous." Zhang Xingyu continued, "Fame is one thing, but the most important thing is to protect your lives. Otherwise, the greatest loss would be the death of my Weapon Refinement Peaks Foundation establishment stage disciples. If they are all fine after the mission is completed, you will be rewarded with 8,000 contribution points." Sun Haowen revealed a look of joy. For someone with mutated spiritual roots like him, what he lacked were all kinds of mutated spells. These spells just so happened to require a large amount of contribution points to exchange for. With 8,000 contribution points, he could at least exchange for 2 more lightning-type spells. After that, this disciple of Relingen bid farewell to the others and hurriedly left, intending to use the day to prepare. After seeing Sun Haowen leave, Zhu Siming said to Yi Zetian, "Martial nephew Yi, I will lead the team for this mission. This Jade Scroll is the mission's introduction. You will also lead 3 weapon refinement peak disciples and set off in 5 days. The reward will be the same as Sun Haowen's." After that, Zhu Siming threw a Jade Scroll to Yi Zetian. Yi Zetian just saw Sun Haowen's expression and knew that the mission was not simple. After scanning it with his divine sense, his expression changed slightly. Yi Zetian then seemed to know that this mission was of great importance and swore a divine sense oath to keep the mission's contents a secret. After that, this Foundation establishment disciple with the highest cultivation level of the weapon refinement peak also hurriedly left. In the end, Lu Kuan was left behind. Zhang Xingyu looked at Lu Kuan and said, "Lu Shizhi, you don't have to worry about the Luo family. With junior brother Nye secretly observing, there won't be any big problems. Not only is this round of missions urgent, but each of them is also very troublesome. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a core formation stage cultivator leading the team and the 6 major sects of Wei Kingdom joining forces. Martial uncles, when will my mission begin? I have to find time to carve the psychic array in my Dharma artifact." Lu Kuan was not concerned about the mission, but he was worried that he would not even have time to upgrade his Dharma artifacts. Zhu Siming smiled and said, "Your mission time is very short. You have to set off in 5 days. Anyway, I have already imparted my divine sense carving technique to you. I will help you carve a level 1 psychic array in your set of Dharma artifact." Lu Kuan was overjoyed and said, "Thank you, Martial Uncle Zhu." The benevolent-looking old man revealed a strange smile and said, "However, the contribution points you need to complete the mission will be reduced to 6,000 points. The remaining 2,000 points will be used as my fee for carving the array. You have to know that this is the standard fee for my Foundation establishment stage cultivators." Lu Kuan's smile froze on his face. He muttered in his heart, "Why did this Martial Uncle Zhu become so stingy after becoming a core formation stage cultivator?" However, Lu Kuan still kept thanking him on the surface. A jade slip appeared in Zhang Xingyu's hand and he said, "Lu Kuan, this jade slip is your mission. You have seen the core formation stage cultivator leading the team. He is Su Tianchuan from the Morning Sun Peak." Lu Kuan frowned after hearing this. His other 2 senior brothers' missions were led by early-stage core formation stage cultivators, but his mission was led by a mid-stage core formation stage cultivator. One had to know that this cultivator's spirit beast was a level 5 demonic beast. It could be seen that the difficulty of the mission was extraordinary. Lu Kuan doubtfully scanned the jade slip with his divine sense. His expression was shocked and he directly cried out, "The Yi clan? The Yi clan of Qing province?" Zhang Xingyu nodded and coldly said, "That's right. It's this Yi clan. This time, the mission is to eliminate all the clans that have nothing to do with our 6 great sects. These clans are all somewhat related to the Zhongzhou's Shangqing sect. This time, each of the 6 great sects has sent out their men. Just our Yuyang sect alone has sent out 3 core formation stage cultivators. The other sects have also sent out quite a few cultivators. Their goal is to eliminate the tumor at the back at lightning speed." When Lu Kuan heard Zhang Xingyu's words, his expression changed greatly. He couldn't help but say, "The rear? Shangqing sect? Could it be?" "That's right. This sect has occupied Zhongzhou for so many years. In recent years, they have indirectly seized the resources of our 6 great sects through these clans. After our 6 great sects were fully prepared, we decided to join forces and make the first move," Zhang Xingyu said while gnashing his teeth. Looking at his expression, it seemed that he had suffered a great loss at Shangqing sect. Zhu Siming said, "Lu Shizhi, ever since you advanced to the foundation establishment stage, your strength has increased by a lot. You and Qin Yushu are the same as senior martial brother Nye back then. You have the strength of a late-stage foundation establishment stage cultivator at the early-stage foundation establishment stage. With your aptitude and strength, if you successfully break through to the core formation stage, you will definitely be strong among the core formation stage cultivators. At that time, the strength of our Yang clan will not be much worse than that of the Miraculous Gate. Moreover, only when there are more core formation stage cultivators will there be new nascent soul stage cultivators. This is the symbol of a sect's strength." When Lu Kuan saw that the 2 core formation stage cultivators were rather agitated, such a thought flashed through his mind. According to the 2 uncle masters, our Yang clan is much weaker than the other sects in the Wei nation. When Zhu Siming saw Lu Kuan's expression, he realized that he had said too much. He said, "Lu Kuan, swear that you will not divulge the contents of the mission. I will help you draw the psychic array and explain some of the key points of the divine sense engraving technique to you." Zhu Siming then said to Zhang Xingyu, "Senior martial brother, I will leave with Lu Kuan first." Zhang Xingyu said, "Yes, Lu Kuan will only have late-stage strength after this pair of Dharma artifacts is upgraded." "That's right, Lu Shizhi, you have special arrangements for this mission. Old Ghost Su will tell you later." Chapter 166. In the Wei Kingdom, the neighboring states of Lu Province were Qingzhou and Zhongzhou. In the middle of these 3 states was the endless Lingming mountain range. Crossing the Lingming mountain range from Lu Province and heading west was Qing Province. The name Qing Province had some meaning. In the immortal cultivation world, the word Qing referred to the 2 major immortal cultivation sects here, Qing Yu Temple and Qing Yang sect. In the secular world, the word Qingzhou referred to the vast green grassland of Qingzhou. On the grassland, herds of cattle, sheep, and horses could be found every few miles. Most mortals made a living by herding animals. On this day, on the edge of the grassland of Qingzhou, on an endless mountain range, there was a group of fierce black crows with gray feathers and black claws. They were hovering in the sky and cawing. Suddenly, an invisible ripple flashed in the sky above the mountain range, and the clouds nearby were scattered. The group of black crows seemed to have seen something terrifying and fled in all directions. If a powerful cultivator used the heavenly eye technique, they would discover that a large grayish-white flying boat had appeared in the cloud. This flying boat was about 50 feet long and 20 feet wide, and there was a transparent and hazy shield around it. This shield was the flying boat's concealment spell. Unless it was a cultivator above the foundation establishment stage who used their divine sense to examine it closely, they would not be able to discover it. And the flying boat flew above the clouds, so people on the ground could not detect it at all. This grayish-white flying boat was the famous cloud-treading boat of the Yang clan. It could accommodate dozens of people and only required 4 foundation establishment stage cultivators to cast the spell to allow it to fly quickly in the sky. On this cloud-treading boat there were about 30 cultivators. Upon closer inspection, one would discover that these men and women were all foundation establishment stage cultivators. They were divided into 2 groups and stood on both sides of the cloud-treading boat. In the center of the flying boat, Lu Kuan was wearing a yellow robe. He stood with his hands behind his back and looked at the scene outside the boat. Behind him stood a few cultivators from the weapon refining peak. They were Fatty Zhu, the cold-faced man Jing Ziming, and the sallow and emaciated disciple Su Liang. It turned out that these 3 people were the disciples assigned to Lu Kuan to carry out the mission together. Lu Kuan frowned slightly and looked serious. He was still thinking about the divine sense engraving technique that Zhu Siming had explained to him a few days ago. There were several key points in it that he hadn't figured out yet. At this moment, a voice sounded in his ear. "Second senior brother, we have already reached the border of Qinglu. If the mission is as senior brother said, then the immortal cultivation sects in Qingzhou will also send people, right?" The person who spoke was the emaciated Su Liang. Fatty Zhu and Jing Ziming looked at Lu Kuan when they heard that. They were informed by their core formation martial uncle that they had an important mission to carry out, but he didn't explain the specific details. He only said that Lu Kuan was the leader of the 3 of them. Along the way, Lu Kuan told them that the mission this time was to deal with the Yi family in Qingzhou. When Lu Kuan heard the title, Second Senior Brother, he sighed. Because the weapon refining peak had never held a battle competition, they didn't know each other's strength. The other peaks determined the disciples who lived on the 4th floor based on the strength of their combat strength. Qingyang Peak and Chaoyang Peak even called the disciples on the 4th floor the previous senior brothers. The Qi Refining Peak's Foundation establishment disciples learned from them and called Yi Zetian as senior brother, Lu Kuan as second senior brother, and Sun Haowen as third senior brother. Lu Kuan looked at the grassland outside and replied, "The Yi family has a core formation cultivator and has been in Qingzhou for many years. If the Qinghua Temple and Qingyang sect make any movements, they may immediately know. Also, the Yi family is very close to Luzhou, so the Qinghua Temple and Qingyang sect won't participate in this mission. So that's how it is. We've teamed up with the Miraculous Gate. We have a total of 32 Foundation establishment cultivators and 2 core formation martial uncles leading the team. Our strength is twice that of the Yi family. It seems like the mission is relatively easy." Fatty Zhu didn't seem nervous at all. The cold-faced man, Jing Ziming, shook his head and said, "What we're going to do is exterminate a sect. It's inevitable that the Yi family's cultivators will do something desperate. You have to know that after Foundation establishment cultivators recklessly ignite the Fa Li in their body, their strength can temporarily increase by a realm. If that's the case, we'll avoid them during the battle." Lu Kuan did not join in their discussion. He saw a short man walking towards him. He had seen this short man a few years ago. It was the martial Uncle Feng, who had been in charge of the Lingming Market Square back then. This disciple's name was Feng Chou, a disciple of the Rising Sun Peak. 7 or 8 years ago, he broke through to the late Foundation establishment stage and was the one with the highest cultivation level among the disciples leading the team this time. Fatty Zhu and the rest saw Feng Chou and stopped talking. They heard Feng Chou say to Lu Kuan, "Lu Shidi, I think it won't be long before we reach our temporary hiding place. I'll be leaving soon to carry out the mission." Lu Kuan nodded and said, "Martial Uncle Su told me that senior brother Feng can help me arrange an identity. I was just about to ask senior brother Zhao about it, but I didn't expect you to come." Feng Chou waved his hand and a soundproof shield enveloped the 2 of them. This soundproof shield was a spell that could only be used by Foundation establishment cultivators. Its power was completely dependent on the strength of one's divine sense. On this flying boat, the late Foundation establishment disciples of the miraculous gate also knew about this plan, so there was nothing to worry about. Once Feng Cho was done with the soundproof barrier, he said, "I've only stayed in Green Province for a while, so I got to know some mortal clans from the secular world. They would send some mortal servants to the House of Yi regularly. Junior brother's divine ability is amazing. You can disguise yourself as a mortal and blend into the House of Yi." Lu Kuan said modestly, "You're exaggerating, senior brother. It's just a little trick." Feng Cho looked at Lu Kuan meaningfully and said, "Junior brother, you don't have to be so humble. It's not a little trick to be recognized by the martial uncles. Junior brother, you'll only be there for 2 or 3 days. You won't meet the Yi clan's patriarch who's in the core formation stage, so the danger is low. You just have to wait for the appointed time and open their small restrictive formation from the inside. We'll be able to catch them off guard. The Yi clan won't have time to escape. If that's the case, their family's many years of savings will fall into our hands. Senior brother Feng, don't worry. I'll open the formation on time. Junior brother, let me tell you more about the Yi clan's restrictive formation." "Yes, senior brother." After a short while, Feng Cho put away the soundproof barrier and suddenly said, "Lu Shidi, if there's an even more intense battle later on, why don't the teams from Chaoyang Peak and Weapon Refinement Peak stay together? We can look after each other." Fatty Zhu and the other two were overjoyed when they heard this. This senior brother Feng cultivated the frost technique, and the divine abilities that came with it were amazing. Staying together would definitely increase their safety. Seeing Lu Kuan and the others thanking him, Feng Cho laughed in his heart. He had already received detailed information on Lu Kuan's battle and knew that this junior brother's technique was unique. Like a mortal martial artist, he was good at close combat. His technique and divine abilities were quite effective at trapping enemies. With the combination of the two, not only would the enemy not be able to escape, they wouldn't even try to attack him from afar. They would only try their best to deal with Lu Kuan in close combat. In this way, his safety was greatly increased. Even if the enemy was desperate and ignited their liquid dermic powers, Lu Shidi would be the first to bear the brunt. Standing in front of the cloud-treading ship were 2 old men. One of them was slightly plump and had a huge silver leopard lying next to him. It was the Yeyang clan's Chaoyang Peak's silver leopard Taoist master Su Tianchuan. The other person wore a black robe. His eyebrows were yellow and slender. His face was emaciated and his entire body emitted a vexing aura. This was a rather famous early-stage core formation cultivator in the Miraculous Gate. People called him Taoist Master Huang Mei. His demonic cultivation was profound. When the cloud-treading ship was traveling in the sky above the green grassland, Su Tianchuan suddenly said, "I'll have to trouble Taoist Master Huang Mei to remain vigilant. I'll cast a spell to increase the speed of the flying ship. We've already passed the border of Lu Province and aren't far from the Yi clan of Qing Province. If we're discovered, we'll alert the enemy. Taoist Master Su, don't worry. As long as a cultivator discovers us, I won't let them live." Taoist Master Huang Mei replied. His hoarse voice was filled with cruelty. Chapter 167. The cloud-treading ship flew above this grassland for about 6 hours before it landed on a barren hill. Then, the flying ship was exposed to the air. Then, 2 sound-transmitting talismans shot out from the cloud-treading ship and disappeared into the hill. Inside a hidden array on the hill, there were 2 Foundation establishment cultivators. They took the sound-transmitting talismans and listened carefully. One of the Foundation establishment cultivators was happy and said, "It's Martial Uncle Su of the Yeyang clan." The other nodded and said, "Yes, this one is from Martial Uncle Huang Mei. Since there's no mistake, let's open the array." It turned out that these two cultivators were disciples of the Yang clan and the Miraculous Gate. Their mission was to come here in advance and secretly set up a temporary hiding place in this hill that was lacking in spirit chi. At this time, the cloud-treading boat landed on the ground. The disciples on the flying boat also disembarked. Su Tianchuan, who was the leader, put away the flying boat. He and Huang Mei, spiritual master, led the disciples of the two factions into the small mountain. After a few steps, the group disappeared without a trace. After the time it took to eat a meal, two figures, one tall and one short, appeared in the hill. They looked at the direction and flew north on a small boat. They were Lu Kuan and Feng Chou. At this time, Lu Kuan had changed his face into a fierce-looking man. After flying for about 10 miles, the two landed on the ground. They were afraid of attracting attention, so they walked. Gradually, a huge grassland city appeared in front of them. The mortals living in the grassland were different from those in Luzhou. They lived in tents, and each tent was a house. Feng Chou was familiar with this place and led Lu Kuan through the tent. Soon, they arrived in front of the largest tent. Lu Kuan found that there was a faint array fluctuation in one of the tents. There were cultivators living here. Feng Chou's hand flashed and he threw the sound-transmitting talisman inside. He said to Lu Kuan, "Junior martial brother, this is the residence of a distant relative of the Yi clan. They have some spirit stones and are enshrining a chi condensation rogue cultivator to protect them." "Oh, he's coming out." Lu Kuan saw a wretched-looking man walk out. He was at the 7th level of chi refining. He nodded and bowed to Feng Chou. Lu Kuan had already concealed his spiritual sense and mana. He was like an ordinary person standing next to him, completely unremarkable. After that, Feng Chou said a few words to the man, gave Lu Kuan a look, and turned to leave. After Feng Chou left, the rogue cultivator said, "Brother Zhang, Senior brought you here just in time. In about half a day, the Yi clan will come to pick you up. I really don't know what kind of relationship your ancestor has with this senior. He actually brought you here personally." Then, Lu Kuan was brought to another tent by the rogue cultivator. There were 17 or 18 men and women inside. Many of the men were similar to Lu Kuan and were very strong. The women were all beautiful. After leaving Lu Kuan here, the rogue cultivator turned and left. Although this person was brought here by the senior cultivator, he was only a mortal and was not worthy of his company. Lu Kuan ignored the greetings of the others and sat down cross-legged. Currently, he only had a storage bag hanging between his legs. He did not bring the spirit beast bag because Xiao Jin was injured in the process of breaking through and was left in the cave to heal. Some time ago, an unexpected situation occurred when Xiao Jin was breaking through to level 2 demonic beast. As Xiao Jin's body became stronger and stronger, Lu Kuan's would attribute Fa Li's recovery effect became smaller and smaller. In order to let Xiao Jin's recovery speed keep up, Lu Kuan had to increase the output of Fa Li. Fortunately, at the last critical moment, Xiao Jin successfully broke through to level 2 demonic beast and extinguished the demonic fire. Lu Kuan's Fa Li was almost exhausted. Although Xiao Jin had broken through to level 2 demonic beast, its body was severely injured. Its gray fur was also burned off. Its injuries could only be slowly nourished by the liquid form of demonic qi. Fortunately, I didn't bring Xiao Jin out. Otherwise, it would be quite troublesome. This time, I put all the spiritual controlling artifacts into the storage bag. Moreover, the spiritual root is not here for the next 2 days. It's better to be careful. But even if something goes wrong, I can still escape in time. As Lu Kuan thought of this, a confident smile appeared on his face. At this moment, Lu Kuan was very different from when he was in the Foundation establishment stage. Just by relying on the astonishing defensive power of his body and the Foundation establishment stage's dual-colored light shield, even a late Foundation establishment stage cultivator like Yi Zetian would not be able to kill Lu Kuan in one blow. As long as Lu Kuan had the slightest bit of time to react and put on the spiritual controlling arm guard in time, coupled with the level 1 spiritual controlling artifacts, as long as there was no core formation stage cultivator, he would have some confidence in escaping. Let's think about how to find the array's nodes. Time passed by as Lu Kuan pondered. Half a day later, 2 late Qi refining stage Yi clan disciples came to the tent. After a simple registration, they brought Lu Kuan and the others out. These mortals sat on 2 flying boats that were slightly flat and flew slowly in a direction to the north. The Yi clan's flat flying boats were refined to be larger than regular flying instruments and were used to transport mortals. However, due to the limited skills of the refiners, they could only reduce the flying speed to ensure that more people could ride on them. These mortals could not tell the quality of the instruments as they were all in the excitement of flying. As Lu Kuan looked at the 2 young Yi clan disciples in front of him, he could not help but think of the foliaceous water and Yi Zitao siblings who had plotted against him in the sagacious Demon Valley. After the 2 of them had plotted against him, they had even stolen the body of the ferocious badger. As he thought of this, a cold light flashed in Lu Kuan's eyes. Once the Yi clan's forbidden array was opened, he would personally find the siblings and take revenge for what they had done. After this slow magic tool flew for a period of time, a rather majestic fortress gradually appeared in front of everyone. The outer layer of this fortress had a very obvious cloud and mist light shield. When Lu Kuan and the others' flying boat arrived in front of the fortress, a Yi clan disciple who was in the early foundation establishment stage came out. He used his divine sense to do a simple check on them and let them in. Lu Kuan was relieved. As expected, male cultivators would not scan the lower half of other men's bodies. They did not find his storage pouch. As they walked into the Yi castle, Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with a golden light. He kept observing the forbidden array and the patrolling cultivators in the surroundings and made a mental note of it. The Yi clan was indeed a cultivation clan with a core formation cultivator in charge. Although the forbidden array outside was a simplified version, its power was much weaker than the original. However, even a core formation cultivator would not be able to quickly break through the forbidden array. There were formation masters in the Miraculous Gate and the Yang clan. They were very familiar with the forbidden array's internal nodes. Previously, Feng Chou had taught Lu Kuan this method of finding the internal node. Lu Kuan had already found the general location of the nodes through his observations along the way. He still had to stay here for 2 days, so he was not in a hurry. Chapter 168. At night, the entire Yi castle was quiet. Beside a construction site in the castle, there were several large tents. Lu Kuan sat alone in one of the tents. He thought of the mortal man who had formed a group during the day and had a strange look on his face. Asking a foundation establishment cultivator like him to join a group of mortals, this man must be really daring. After Lu Kuan rejected the man, he showed off his brute strength to the others. He easily moved a few stone pillars that weighed more than 1,000 pounds and shocked everyone. At night, he even took over a tent and no one dared to say anything. With such a heavy workload during the day, the others must be sleeping until dawn. Plus, with what I did during the day, they won't dare to come to my tent at night. After muttering to himself, Lu Kuan sensed that no one was near him and secretly took out his storage bag. A green and red light flashed in his hand and he took out a green talisman. It was a mid-level talisman that could only be activated by liquid transcendence energy. Fortunately, after the primal fire shield was upgraded to a dual-colored light shield, the coverage area can be expanded. The liquid transcendence energy can barely activate the talisman on the surface of the skin. Otherwise, after wearing the spirit-controlling arm guard and activating the invisibility talisman, I won't be able to put it back into the storage bag. There are spirit stones on the spirit-controlling arm guard. It's inevitable that people will sense it. It turned out that Lu Kuan was holding a mid-level high-level invisibility talisman. It was a high-level talisman given to him by Su Tianchuan. It could completely hide one's body. However, once the body was hidden, one could not use their transcendence energy or their consciousness. Otherwise, the talisman would lose its effect. This high-level invisibility talisman could only hide one's transcendence energy and consciousness from cultivators who were below the late stage of foundation establishment. Lu Kuan hid his transcendence energy and consciousness very well. This talisman was mainly used to hide his body. This way, even core formation cultivators would not be able to detect him. The green and red light in Lu Kuan's hand was activated by the talisman. A pale white light surrounded him, and then his entire body disappeared into the air. In an instant, he became transparent as if he had disappeared. The Yi castle was huge. The loft that Lu Kuan and the others had built was for the use of the Yi family's master alchemist. It was located near the center of the Yi castle, and was mostly used by the Yi family's core disciples and some of the family's high officials. Lu Kuan precisely controlled the muscles in his legs and walked slowly. Even if Xiao Jin was here, it would be difficult for him to hear the sound of his footstep. He followed a bluestone path and walked towards the periphery. The nodes of the forbidden array were all in the periphery. This bluestone path was one of the main paths of the Yi castle. There was no formation, but there were disciples of the Qi condensation stage standing guard at certain intervals. Not long after, Lu Kuan arrived at the intersection of the inner and outer regions. Lu Kuan saw two Yi clan disciples standing guard at the side. One of them was a middle-aged man with a strong aura. He was most likely a foundation establishment stage cultivator. The other had a young face and should be a disciple of the Qi condensation stage. Lu Kuan was very cautious. With his years of experience in the art of body strengthening, he adjusted his heart muscles slightly and reduced the flow of his heart and blood to the minimum. In front of the two Yi clan disciples, he did not make any sound. Even the ripples in the air were very weak. The Yi clan disciples did not notice him at all. They did not even realize that a living person had walked past. After entering the outer regions of the Yi castle, Lu Kuan breathed a sigh of relief. There were fewer foundation establishment stage cultivators in the outer regions. Even if he was discovered, he could still escape with his life. If he was in the inner regions, there would be 7 to 8 foundation establishment stage cultivators in a short time. No matter how strong he was, he would not be able to escape. After entering the outer regions, Lu Kuan walked towards the first node of the forbidden array based on his deductions during the day. Not long after, he arrived at one of the walls of the Yi castle. In front of him was a large tree that required 2 people to wrap their arms around. The periphery of the tree flashed with light. It was obvious that a small defensive array had been set up. Lu Kuan felt a headache coming on. There was more than one node on the array. If he destroyed this array, he would be discovered. It would be even harder to destroy the other node. Lu Kuan shook his head and walked towards the next node. If his observation was correct, there were a total of 3 nodes. Carefully, he walked to the second node. Lu Kuan was stunned. It was a pavilion. Inside, there were 4 cultivators sitting cross-legged. Lu Kuan waited for a while. Then, he saw another Yi clan disciple flying towards him. This Yi clan disciple talked to one of the cultivators in the pavilion and then sat cross-legged in the pavilion. The cultivator who was talking to him flew out. So this is the temporary resting place for the patrolling disciples. He observed from outside the pavilion for a while, and his expression became even more unsightly. Although this place was not covered by a spell formation, there was at least one foundation establishment cultivator inside. Unless he killed the 4 of them in one breath with lightning speed, he would not be able to escape. If he ambushed one of them, he could use the high-level invisibility talisman to get close and then kill one of them with brute force. However, there were 4 of them here. If one of them had high-level talismans or special treasures, he would not be able to kill them without using his transcendence energy. Moreover, these disciples were rotated. If he killed a few of them and the new disciples noticed signs of battle, they would definitely sound the alarm. He sighed and thought for a while. Then, he walked towards the last node. As he walked, Lu Kuan's nose caught a whiff of a familiar scent. When he took a closer look, his eyes bulged and he almost cursed out loud. It turned out that the last node was the place where the Yi clan placed the demonic beast. This place was quite big, like a small zoo. The only thing that comforted Lu Kuan was that it was all level 1 demonic beasts. Even so, as long as he, a stranger, broke in and destroyed the node array of the forbidden array, these level 1 demonic beasts would see Lu Kuan and let out all kinds of cries to attract the rest of the Yi clan. No matter how powerful he was, he would not be able to stop the demonic beasts here from making cries. Demonic beasts were different from human cultivators. Many level 1 demonic beasts had extraordinary senses. Their sense of smell was many times stronger than humans. Humans might not be able to smell Lu Kuan's scent, but these demonic beasts would discover him as soon as he entered. Who in the Yi clan designed this? There are so many nodes, each more disgusting than the last. There is no way to break it without alerting the Yi clan. Unless there are 3 of me at each node at the same time. Only when all 3 nodes are destroyed can the defensive function of this forbidden formation be nullified. Martial Uncle Su promised me that if I can complete it perfectly, he will give me a sufficient amount of silver ore from the Yi family. This way, even if I accidentally destroy 1 or 2 of my spirit-controlling immortal treasures, I can replace them in time. This won't do. I have to think of a way. There is not much time left for the invisibility talisman. I will go back first. I must complete it before the 3rd night. Lu Kuan went back the way he came. He planned to think of a way in these 2 days. Just as Lu Kuan reached the entrance of the inner area, the 2 Yi clan disciples seemed to be rather bored and started chatting. The younger Yi clan disciple said, "Second uncle, do you know that there is an elder in our clan who is nearing the end of his life? He might pass away in these 2 days." Second uncle sighed and said, "You're talking about the ancestors of the foliaceous water and Yi Zitao, aren't you?" Lu Kuan was not in the mood to listen, but the mention of the foliaceous water made him stop in his tracks. The younger disciple said, "Yes, I heard that they have been guarding this ancestor for the past few days." Second uncle said, "This ancestor is the only living elder in their clan. He is already more than 200 years old and loves them very much. Under his careful guidance, they managed to build their foundation so quickly." The younger disciple looked at him with admiration and said, "Zishui and Zitao are the idols of us Qi refinement stage disciples, especially Sister Zishui. Not only did she build her foundation so quickly, but she is also very intelligent. The ancestor even left the safety of the Yi castle to her. They are indeed very talented, but after building their foundation, talent is only one of the factors. Take this elder for example. His talent was not bad back then, but he was stuck in the middle stage of the foundation building for almost 200 years. He could not improve and had to pass away. When second uncle said could not improve, he could not help but sigh. He was also like that, stuck in the early stage of the foundation building for many years. The younger Yi clan disciple heard the sigh in second uncle's words and said, "Sigh, I don't know when I can enter the foundation building stage." Second uncle patted him on the shoulder and said, "Don't worry, as long as you cultivate well and complete the Yi clan's mission, you will be rewarded with a foundation establishment pill. There is hope for you to build your foundation." After hearing this, Lu Kuan was shocked. So it was the foliaceous water who designed this set of defense measures. Chapter 169. Lu Kuan stayed up all night in the tent, trying his best to think of a countermeasure. Without a doubt, No one was guarding the spell formation beside the tree. However, since the tree dared to be left there all by itself, the spell formation must have both warning and defensive functions. From the spell formation in the hands of the foliaceous water in the spiritual demon valley, it could be seen that the Yi clan's spell formation masters had a unique style and were good at concealing the function of spell formations. At the pavilion, Lu Kuan had the invisibility talisman and a strong physical body. It was easy for him to sneak attack a Foundation establishment cultivator who did not have a magical power shield. However, after he made a move, he would be discovered. This way, the remaining nodes would definitely be guarded by more people. It would be impossible for him to sneak attack again. Time passed like this. In the morning of the second day, Lu Kuan walked out of the tent. During the day there would be cultivators patrolling. If he did not work, it would inevitably arouse suspicion. Lu Kuan was alone in an area repairing. No one dared to approach him for fear of being hit by the huge stones he was carrying. After a while, the patrolling cultivators came over. They were not surprised to see Lu Kuan's great strength. The cultivator simply counted the number of people and checked the progress of the construction. Then he left. He would not waste too much time here. It would be better to use this time to meditate. At noon, it was lunchtime. The Yi clan did not generously give out fasting pills like the Yang clan. Instead, they hired servants to cook. Basin after basin of food was brought to the table beside the tent. However, no one touched their chopsticks. The man who tried to rope in Lu Kuan yesterday walked in front of Lu Kuan. With a bit of flattery, he said, "Big brother, you are so tired from working. Come to the table and eat first." Lu Kuan looked and realized that these people were looking at him anxiously. He did not expect that the strength he showed yesterday would make these people so afraid. He walked forward and sat to the side to eat. "You all come and eat too." Hearing this, the others walked to the table one by one and started eating. During this time, the man kept flattering Lu Kuan and asked Lu Kuan to be their boss. He said that in this group of mortals in the Yi castle, they would be able to work less and earn more money. Lu Kuan did not know whether to laugh or cry. However, he still dealt with this person verbally. Suddenly, a shadow darted out from the table and appeared beside the dishes on the table. They took a closer look and saw that it was a fat black and white rat. At this time, its steel teeth, which were comparable to iron tools, were crazily eating the leftovers on the table. The mortals around them were terrified. They were brought into the Yi clan and naturally knew a lot about immortal cultivators. One look at this rat and they knew that it was a demon. A demon that could act so unscrupulously in the Yi castle must have been reared by the Yi clan. When Lu Kuan saw this demonic beast, he was also quite surprised. This was the bamboo rat he had seen before. But then, Lu Kuan's expression changed. A divine sense in the late stage of the Qi refining realm swept over them and finally landed on the bamboo rat. The bamboo rat had a high spiritual sense. It was shocked by the divine sense and quickly ran outside. At this time, a brown eagle suddenly swooped down from the sky and grabbed the bamboo rat. The eagle pecked the bamboo rat's head with its sharp golden beak, easily killing it. Then, the eagle flew away with the bamboo rat's corpse. This scene left the mortals at the table dumbfounded. However, most of Lu Kuan's attention was on a male immortal cultivator not far away. This was the immortal cultivator who had just released his divine sense. Lu Kuan's muscle nerves easily determined that this was a late-stage Qi refinement stage disciple based on the divine sense. Lu Kuan's ears twitched. He had built his foundation through the physique refinement stage, so his hearing was much better than the average person. He heard the disciple say, "Fortunately, the bamboo rat jumped out. Otherwise, if the black kite killed these mortals, the senior brothers would scold me again." It turned out that his divine sense was not meant to deal with Lu Kuan and the others. It was meant to let the bamboo rat run away. Lu Kuan heard him say again, "Sai, Sister Zishui is so troublesome. She wants the black kite to hunt by itself, and wants the prey to stay as far away from it as possible. She even has to feed it at night. If it weren't for the bamboo rat's strong reproductive ability, it would have gone extinct long ago. After muttering to himself, the disciple walked away. When Lu Kuan heard the disciple's words, his face lit up with joy as if he had solved a difficult problem. At night, the patrolling cultivators had already returned to meditate. The other mortals also returned to rest. Lu Kuan once again took out the high-level invisibility talisman and whispered, "There are still 2 uses left. Make good use of them." After concealing himself, Lu Kuan walked out. He was heading toward the place where the demonic beasts were raised. When Lu Kuan went to the Spirit Demon Valley, he specially looked up a lot of information about demonic beasts, including the introduction of the black kite. This demonic beast would take the initiative to hunt for food at noon and midnight every day. During the day, the black kite would hunt for food for the first time. At night, it would hunt for food again. Lu Kuan was familiar with the way tonight. It didn't take long for him to arrive at the demonic beast's location. He looked at the sky and estimated the time. Sure enough, when it was close to midnight, the Yi family disciple who was feeding during the day walked in. Lu Kuan muttered in his heart, he should come here often. The low-level demonic beasts here are quite familiar with his aura. They didn't make any sounds of alarm. Relying on his eyesight in the dark, Lu Kuan clearly saw that the disciple was inside a magic formation. He put a bamboo rat in a spirit beast bag and walked out. However, as he walked, he cautiously glanced at the nest in the forest next door. Seeing him come out, Lu Kuan's spirit was shaken. He followed behind the Yi family disciple. "Although it's night, I still have to go to a sparsely populated place before releasing this bamboo rat. Sister Zishui told me to put it further away. If I put it further away at night, it would be troublesome." After muttering to himself for a while, the disciple walked to an open space in the outer area and loosened the spirit beast bag. A fat bamboo rat sniffed with its nose, its ears twitched, and its small eyes widened. Then, it ran in a direction in horror. "Strange, why are you running so fast this time? Could it be that you know your fate?" Although the Yi clan's disciple was talking nonsense, he still followed closely behind. Not long after, he saw a big tree not far away. At the same time, a whistling sound came from the sky. He looked up and saw a slightly thinner black kite circling in the sky. The 2 black kites are so fair, looking for food one after the other. They're not like us low-level disciples who do different jobs. There's a formation in front. Bamboo rat don't. The Yi family disciple looked at the bamboo rat rushing towards the formation in front of the big tree, and was somewhat at a loss. At this time, the black kite in the sky also noticed the commotion and quickly flew over. The Yi family disciple's face was extremely pale. The elders of the family had set up a formation here. It was an extremely important place. The formation that was set up here was definitely not simple. The bamboo rat was fine, but if the black kite was killed by the formation, he would be miserable. After all, the black kite was only at the level of a mid-level demonic beast. Boom! The bamboo rat and the black kite crashed into a light barrier at the same time. The light barrier of the formation was extremely sturdy, but the bamboo rat and the black kite were somewhat dizzy. At the same time, in the outer area, a middle-aged man patrolling the pavilion had a drastic change in expression. He quickly took out a formation plate from his storage bag and ordered the few people next to him, "You guys stay here and don't leave until I come back. If there's any special situation, sound the alarm." "Yes." Chapter 170. When the young Yi family disciple saw that the formation didn't have any offensive means, he let out a sigh of relief. After all, the black kite's level was higher, so it immediately recovered from the dizziness and pressed down on the bamboo rat that was still dizzy and unable to escape. The eagle-beak quickly pecked the bamboo rat's head a few times. It flapped its wings and planned to fly away. But at this moment, a green light flew over from not far away and landed outside the formation of the big tree. A strong spiritual pressure of the foundation establishment stage enveloped the area around the big tree. Uncle! When the young Yi family disciple saw the appearance of the person who came, his face paled, as if he was afraid of this person. This person was the Yi family's foundation establishment cultivator on duty in the pavilion. He didn't pay attention to the young Yi family disciple. Instead, he carefully looked at the black kite and the dead bamboo rat in front of him and frowned. The black kite was suppressed by the foundation establishment cultivator's spiritual pressure and panicked, so it didn't fly away. Soon after, the middle-aged man withdrew his spiritual pressure and the black kite flew back to its nest. When the middle-aged man saw the black kite fly away, he turned to the young Yi family disciple and coldly asked, "Speak, how did you trigger this formation?" "Uncle, it's like this. Sister Zishui gave me the task of feeding the two black kite. They had to eat live bamboo rats, so I released one every day at noon and at midnight. She also asked me to let the black kites fly as far away as possible. When the bamboo rat was escaping, it saw the black kite in the sky. It was frightened and bumped into the formation. The black kite was in a hurry to hunt, so it bumped into the formation." The young disciple trembled as he explained. He was afraid that this cold-faced and heartless uncle would punish him severely. The middle-aged man combined the scene of the black kite killing the bamboo rat with the black kite and nodded. "Go back. Remember, don't let the bamboo rat near this area in the future." "Yes, yes. Nephew understands." With that, the young Yi family disciple quickly left. After the young Yi family disciple left, the middle-aged man carefully circled around the formation. Then, he used his early-stage foundation establishment cultivator's spiritual sense to scan the surroundings, not missing a single place. In the end, apart from the bamboo rat and the Yi family disciple's footprints, he didn't find anything else. Soon after, the middle-aged man took out the formation plate from his storage bag and tapped it a few times. Next to the tree, the halo of the spirit array emitted light. The halo was circulating, and it did not seem to be damaged. Looks like these two mystical beasts really bumped into each other by accident. Still, this foliaceous water is too willful. Feeding her mystical beasts has caused chaos in the House of Yi. When the Grand Elder comes out of his closed-door cultivation, I'll have a good talk with him. After the middle-aged man finished muttering, he controlled the green light and flew towards the pavilion on duty. These two places were not very far from each other. If he flew, he would arrive very quickly. The three refinement stage disciples in the pavilion were a bit nervous, but after seeing the familiar green light not far away, they relaxed a bit. One of the tall and thin disciples asked, "Uncle, is there anything special?" At this moment, the middle-aged man had already landed in the pavilion, and he said in a low and helpless voice, "It was Zishui's black kite. Crashed into a formation, and I sensed it, so I went over to take a look. There's nothing else. You guys continue with your usual shift." After saying that, the middle-aged man closed his eyes and meditated in the pavilion. When the other disciples heard about the black kite, they were somewhat envious. However, with this uncle beside them, they did not dare to say anything and continued to meditate. At the same time, the Yi clan disciple who was feeding the black kite had a gloomy look on his face. He complained along the way, "What should I do? Looks like I've offended Uncle. If I make another mistake in the future, I'll definitely be punished twice as much. Tomorrow, I'll go find Sister Shui and ask her to speak on my behalf. The black kite is white and plump because of me." As he spoke, the disciple finally walked into a residence in the outer area. After a short while, Lu Kuan reappeared beside the construction site of the Yi residence. He looked at the high-level invisibility talisman that could be used once more, and the corner of his mouth curled up into a smile. The third day was peaceful. The disciple who was feeding the black kite was afraid that he would accidentally kill the mortals, so he did not feed the black kite in this area. However, Lu Kuan paid special attention at noon and saw the black kite flying in the sky. On the third night it was close to midnight. Lu Kuan sat in his tent and placed his storage bag on his waist to make it easier to take out his weapon. Then, he concealed his aura and took out the invisibility talisman. He did not hesitate to use his last chance. Outside a house in the outer area, a disciple walked out with a gloomy expression. I can't see Sister Zishui during the day. Where should I feed the black kite tonight? There are restrictions everywhere in the inner area at night. It's also troublesome. Let's go to the outer area. At worst, I won't let the bamboo rat go there. Then, the disciple walked to the place where the monster beasts usually lived. After taking out the bamboo rat, he planned to walk in the opposite direction of the tree formation. As he walked, he felt a cold wind blow by. His brain went numb, and then he lost consciousness. Lu Kuan withdrew his fist and looked at the Yi family disciple who had fallen down. He was a little emotional. He didn't expect that he would still be able to use the power of the Yuan exploding fist after reaching the foundation establishment stage. Lu Kuan's hands were nimble as he took out the disciple's storage pouch, spirit beast pouch, and outer clothes. Then, he used Yuan fire on the head and burned the corpse. Lu Kuan then put on the spiritual arm guard on his right hand. He did not put in the spirit stone for the time being. He took out a black dagger from his storage bag and couldn't help but sigh. Martial Uncle Zhu's divine sense engraving technique is extraordinary. His attainments in refining techniques are also much better than mine. After understanding the material characteristics of this black rock, he only used some high-hardness materials to refine this level 1 spiritual dagger. Whether or not I succeed today depends on you. Afterwards, Lu Kuan put the disciple's outer clothes into his storage bag and walked towards the big tree formation. During this time, he cautiously cast an ordinary mid-level invisibility technique on himself, which was only able to temporarily hide from early-stage foundation establishment cultivators. After a while, the middle-aged man sitting cross-legged in the pavilion opened his eyes and frowned. He took out the formation plate with an ugly expression and said in a low voice, "That brat didn't listen to me and is feeding nearby again." After muttering to himself, he didn't speak to the other 3 disciples and flew towards the big tree. The remaining 3 disciples heard the middle-aged man's words clearly and they began to chat. "Hey, do you think the black kite crashed into the formation again?" "What do you mean crashed into it? The black kite is so smart. It must have accidentally crashed into it when it was hunting." That disciple is in trouble. The same thing happened twice. With Big Uncle's temper, he will be fined at least 5 years of spirit stones. How is that possible? If it's another black kite that can feed Sister Zishui, then they must have their support. Although Big Uncle has been at Foundation establishment for many years, in terms of strength, 2 of them are not a match for Sister Zishui and Brother Zitao. How do you know? Sister Zishui and Brother Zishui have just reached Foundation establishment not long ago. I know this. It has to do with their weapons. It is said that their weapons have been upgraded to a level 1 spiritual immortal treasure set. When they work together, even mid-stage Foundation establishment is not a match. Chapter 171. Where is that brat? Don't think I don't know him just because he isn't here. The Yi family's early-stage Foundation establishment, Uncle floated in the air with a green leaf-shaped magic treasure. He looked at the black kite that had just finished off the bamboo rat with an ashen face. He wanted to find that brat and teach him a lesson. Seeing the black kite happily catch the bamboo rat, he was furious. He waved his hand and shot out a primary spell, exploding fireball. He wanted to teach the black kite a lesson first. However, the black kite remembered this middle-aged man and was prepared. It immediately flew into the sky and proudly cried out twice before flying back to its nest. The exploding fireball hit the tree's defensive formation, causing sparks to fly everywhere. Seeing the black kite fly away, the middle-aged man's expression became ugly. He was thinking of a way to hide from the foliaceous water and teach the black kite a lesson. There are spirit fluctuations. As if he felt something, the middle-aged man revealed a puzzled expression. At this moment, a black light flashed in the darkness. The middle-aged man's puzzled expression didn't fade away, but from his enlarged pupils, one could see a trace of fear. Soon after, the middle-aged man landed with the green leaf flying magic tool. A tall and sturdy figure quickly flashed under him and caught the man. Then, he gently placed him on the ground without making any sound. Then the black light returned from the distance and was caught by his right hand. It was a pitch-black flying dagger magic treasure. The burly man's face was slightly pale and his eyes revealed excitement. He quickly took off the middle-aged man's clothes. The speed and expression of taking off the clothes made him look like a hungry wolf. The brawny man was Lu Kuan. Just now, in order to be absolutely safe, he activated the technique of the giant arm on his right arm and used the level 1 psychic flying dagger that he refined again to kill the low-vigilant early-stage building foundation stage cultivator. Even his soul was minced into pieces by the flying dagger. Found it! Lu Kuan held a formation plate in his hand and was quite excited. He put away the storage bag and put on the middle-aged man's clothes. Then, he burned the corpse with essence fire. Then Lu Kuan's facial muscles twisted and became 80% similar to the middle-aged man. Only the outline of the bones on his face was different. However, it wasn't easy to notice in the dark. I can only change my facial muscles. Once I finish tempering my bones and enter the middle stage of foundation establishment, I should be able to adjust my bones. After touching his changed face, Lu Kuan walked to the formation beside the tree. The formation plate in his hand flashed and opened the powerful formation, revealing the roots of the tree. Lu Kuan used his mid-foundation establishment stage spiritual sense to scan the area and immediately found a node array disk buried in the ground. Lu Kuan opened his right hand and a pitch-black flying dagger floated in his palm. With a push of his transcendence energy, the flying dagger shot into the soil and directly shattered the formation plate. After Lu Kuan walked out, he held the black flying dagger in his right hand again and reactivated the tree's protective formation. He took out the middle-aged man's green leaf flying magic tool and confidently flew towards the patrol pavilion. Outside the patrol pavilion, the 3 Qi condensation disciples were chatting. One of the disciples frowned and said, "Uncle was gone for a bit long today? Did something happen?" Uncle's cultivation is profound. What could happen? Maybe he was teaching that kid a lesson. He who told him to be favored by Sister Zishui and take on such an easy task. We are so envious. Shu, quiet down. Uncle is back. The few of them looked at the familiar green light in the distance and immediately shut up. In the blink of an eye, this uncle landed in the pavilion. The few disciples saw that the uncle in front of them didn't say a word and his face was full of anger. They were a bit frightened and subconsciously lowered their heads. Seeing them lower their heads, the uncle smiled slightly and a black light flew out from his right hand. "Ah, Uncle, you." One of the disciples saw the black light from the corner of his eye and turned pale with fright. He subconsciously released a transcendence energy shield. But this black light seemed to be indestructible. It circled around the few of them and easily shattered the transcendence energy shield, piercing through the heads of the disciples. The 3 of them fell with a blank expression. Even in death, they didn't understand why the uncle killed them. Against Qi condensation cultivators, the telekinesis technique is still very handy. I can easily change the direction. Even if they used a defensive method in time, with the power of a level 1 spiritual immortal treasure, I can easily kill them. Seeing that the Qi condensation cultivators had been killed, Lu Kuan took out their storage pouches and burned them all with his primordial fire. Then, with his divine sense, he found that the node formation plate was buried under the pavilion. Lu Kuan waved his hand and the black flying dagger disappeared under the pavilion in a flash. He heard the sound of glass shattering and smiled slightly. Then, he controlled the flying instrument and flew to the last place where the monsters were raised. The disciples patrolling in the distance saw the figure flying in the sky but didn't feel anything wrong. The familiar flying instrument and the Yi clan's foundation establishment cultivator's attire made them know that it was this strict uncle. No one dared to greet him. Every day, there were only 2 foundation establishment cultivators patrolling the outer area. One was at the Yi castle's wall and the other was the uncle, who patrolled the inner area of the pavilion. Sometimes, this uncle would also help patrol the area. It was normal. Just like that, Lu Kuan arrived at the monster garden at the fastest speed. He quickly changed into the clothes of the Yi clan's young disciple. Then, his face contorted and became somewhat similar to the young disciple. He restrained his aura and slowly walked inside. Lu Kuan found that other than the cries of a few monsters with a sensitive sense of smell, the other monsters were not moving. He breathed a sigh of relief. This way, after he destroyed the formation plate, he would have some time to buffer. Even if the other party realized that something was wrong, the main force would have already killed their way over. Using his divine sense, Lu Kuan found that the last formation plate was buried in the center. He used the same move and summoned the black flying dagger. Just as the black flying dagger appeared, all the monsters in the area cried out in horror. It was as if they had seen something that terrified them. The terrified cries of so many monsters broke the silence of the night and spread far and wide. Lu Kuan's expression changed. He quickly controlled the flying dagger to destroy the formation plate. His eyes flashed with a golden light as he looked into the distance. He saw several immortal cultivators flying towards them. One of them was flying at an extremely fast speed. It was obvious that he was a foundation establishment cultivator. I can't stay here for long. Otherwise, the Yi clan's cultivators will increase. Lu Kuan put away all the spiritual immortal instruments on his body and cast an intermediate invisibility spell on himself. He hid his divine sense and spiritual power and relied on the speed of his physical body to retreat to the inner area. Although he had used up all the high-level invisibility spell talismans, this beginner intermediate invisibility spell was still useful. When he was ambushing that uncle, he found that even beginner foundation establishment cultivators could not detect his intermediate invisibility spell. When the flying disciple found the broken formation plate, he would sound the alarm. More and more cultivators would gather in the outer area. It was better to return to the inner area and hide for a while. Masters Junior Su and the others are about to attack. I just need to hide for a little while. In a short while, the cultivator who flew faster on the flying dagger had arrived at the monster territory. He had a face full of beard and a tall build. Based on the spiritual power waves around him, he was also a beginner foundation establishment cultivator. He scanned the area with his divine sense and found that the formation plate was destroyed. His expression changed and he shouted, "Oh no!" At this time, a few patrolling Qi refinement cultivators came over. The foundation establishment cultivators said with a frosty expression, "Hurry up and sound the alarm. Then, go to the big tree on the east wall and check it out. One of you stay here. Big Brother seemed to be flying here. I have to go check it out at the patrol pavilion." "Yes, fourth uncle." One of the Qi refinement cultivators took out a golden bell-like object. He channeled his spiritual power into it and threw it into the air. Dong! The sound of a bell could be heard from the bell-like instrument and it quickly spread throughout the entire Yi castle. This sound caused many foundation establishment cultivators to awaken from their meditation and fly out of their residences. Many of them flew in the direction of the sound of the bell. Chapter 172. In a house in the inner area, 2 disciples of the Yi clan were serving an old man with a face full of twilight. The old man sat cross-legged on a stone bed quietly. His eyes were dim, but one could feel that he was looking at the 2 people in front of him with an incomparably kind gaze. The 2 disciples of the Yi clan were a man and a woman. They were both in the early stage of the foundation establishment stage. The man wore a blue robe. He had sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes. He was extraordinarily handsome. His tiger-like eyes were filled with reluctance. The woman beside him had bright eyes and white teeth. She was as beautiful as a flower. She wore a long red dress and had a graceful figure. However, her bright eyes were filled with tears. She was incomparably delicate. Any man who saw her would want to hold her in their arms and cherish her. Just as the old man was about to speak, the alarm bell outside rang. The 3 of them were stunned. The handsome man said in a low voice, "Little sister, I'll go out and check on the situation. You stay here and accompany grandfather. Brother, be careful. When the alarm bell rings, it means that there are foreign enemies who have infiltrated the castle and are causing trouble." The man nodded and strode outside. At the same time, he took out a formation plate and tapped it twice. The restriction in front of the house opened. After he walked out, he activated his spiritual power and closed the restriction again. Then, the man revealed a somewhat puzzled expression. He scanned the surroundings with his spiritual sense, but did not find anything unusual. Grandfather's lifespan is nearing its end. My state of mind is somewhat unstable. Sigh. After muttering this, the man took out a flying magic item and flew outside. Lu Kuan, who was invisible, looked at the restriction that was closed again. He controlled his nerves and suppressed his rapidly beating heart. Isn't this Yi Zitao? Fortunately, my ability to control my nerves has greatly improved. Otherwise, I would have been discovered just now. I didn't think that the house I found an opportunity to enter would be his residence. As he thought this, Lu Kuan suddenly heard a sound coming from inside the house. His heart trembled and he carefully walked inside. He heard a somewhat familiar female voice coming from inside. "Great-grandfather, you don't have to say anything. Sit quietly and let your great-granddaughter accompany you." At this time, Lu Kuan walked to the door of the house and peeked in. He revealed a look of understanding and thought to himself, "I heard them say that an elder of the clan is about to pass away. It seems like it's this old man. Yi Zitao and the foliaceous water are both accompanying him." Then, Lu Kuan saw the old man open his mouth and say to the foliaceous water in an extremely hoarse voice, "Ah, Zishui, this is one of my biggest regrets in life. If I don't say it now, I won't have the chance to say it again." The foliaceous water said with a bit of heartache, "Then grandfather, just say it. You'll feel better if you say it." The old man looked at the foliaceous water and recalled the past. He said in a low and hoarse voice, 200 years ago, I was still a clan member wandering outside. I was a loose cultivator in Lu province. My cultivation progress was slow and I didn't have many spirit stones. One time, I encountered a mid-tier class 1 demon beast in the mountains. At that time, I was only at the mid-tier or refining stage, and only had a low-tier magic tool. It was extremely dangerous and I almost lost my life. Fortunately, someone passed by and righteously helped me. In the end, the 2 of us worked together to kill the mid-tier demon beast. The old man turned to the foliaceous water and asked, "Do you know the cultivation of the person who saved me?" To be able to work together with grandfather to kill the mid-tier demon beast, he must also be at the mid-tier or a refining stage. The old man shook his head and said with a bit of admiration, "No, he was a mortal." "What? Impossible." A mortal would only be a burden to a cultivator when facing a mid-tier demon beast. How could he help you defeat the mid-tier demon beast? The foliaceous water's face was full of disbelief. Lu Kuan, who was listening outside, had a very strange expression on his face. He seemed to have thought of something. The old man continued, "At that time, I was even more surprised than you. That person was indeed a mortal. However, he was a top-tier martial artist among mortals. His martial arts could reach the power of a low-tier fireball technique, and his other moves could reach the effect of a cultivator's magic." Ignoring the foliaceous water's shock, Lu Kuan's expression became very nervous as he stared at the old man. "Later, I became friends with this mortal, and even called him Big Brother. It's strange, isn't it? A cultivator becoming friends with a mortal. But if it weren't for this mortal, I would have died at the hands of the mid-tier demon beast. Ha ha." At this point, the old man let out a self-deprecating laugh. Cough, cough. As if it involved his aging organs, the old man coughed. The foliaceous water hurriedly patted the old man's back. The old man in his twilight years paused for a moment before continuing. "As my relationship with him grew closer, I slowly came to know the origin of his martial arts. This mortal was called Ling Yuetian. Everyone in Jiyu City, the capital of Lu Province, knew of him. When Brother Ling was very young, he had already cultivated the martial arts of the mortal world to an extremely high level. Later on, he discovered the existence of cultivators." The old man paused for a moment before continuing in an extremely amazed tone. "After Brother Ling learned the basic martial arts, he discovered that he didn't have a spiritual root. Later on, he was unwilling to give up and racked his brains to create a set of martial arts. He even cultivated a martial arts technique that was comparable to a low-tier magic spell. Because he was a powerful martial artist and his martial arts technique was comparable to magic spells, ordinary cultivators in the middle stage of qi refining were no match for him. However, later on, I found out that the most fundamental part of his martial arts technique was his physical body, not his martial arts technique." The foliaceous water was puzzled and asked, "Physical body?" The old man sighed and said, "That's right. His martial arts technique relied entirely on his powerful physical body to be able to release it." The old man sighed and said, "Sigh, I was originally in Lu Province, but I continued to fool around like this. Who knew that I would meet a distant uncle in a nearby market? Only then did I find out that I was of the Yi clan's bloodline. This uncle told me to quickly return to the clan with him. Coincidentally, during this period of time, I heard that there was a late-stage qi refining demonic cultivator from a large sect who went to the spiritual demon valley to hunt demonic beasts. However, I don't know where he heard the news of Brother Ling's powerful physical body. He was preparing to come over and refine Brother Ling into his corp. I immediately told this news to Brother Ling. I also planned to stay and help him, but that uncle wasn't willing to wait another day. At that time, as a rogue cultivator, I was very clear about the weight of the Yi clan. For the sake of future cultivation resources and a glimmer of hope for foundation establishment, I had no choice but to leave. In the end, I came to the Yi clan with part of Brother Ling's relics in my hands. I didn't face the enemy together with him. I don't know what happened to him and the demonic cultivator. A few years later, when I reached the late stage of qi refining, I went back again. After asking around, I found out that Brother Ling was already dead. His physical body was taken away by the demonic cultivator. At that time, I also heard that Brother Ling's sister had also come to inquire about the news. I spent a lot of time searching, but I couldn't even find his sister and son. In the end, in order to pass the best age for foundation establishment, I could only return to the Yi clan and give up the search. After hearing this, the foliaceous water curled his lips and said, "Grandfather, even if he saved your life, he is still a mortal. By telling him in advance, you have already repaid his kindness." The old man in his twilight years touched the foliaceous water's soft hair and said, "Whether or not to repay a kindness depends on the heart. I have always felt guilty in my heart, and I couldn't find brotherlings relatives. This caused my cultivation to stagnate." Then, the old man took out 3 pieces of parchment from his storage bag and said, "Zishui, brotherling's descendants. After I reached Foundation establishment, I went to look for them again. Luzhou is so big. Looking for a mortal is really like looking for a needle in a haystack. There was no news. These 3 pieces of parchment are brotherling's relics. Help me keep them well. If clang, clang, clang." Chapter 173. When the bell rang 3 times, Yi Zichen heard the bell ring. In the deepest part of the Yi castle, a thin old man with half-white hair suddenly opened his eyes and whispered, "Who dares to attack the Yi clan?" Then, a powerful divine sense spread out. With the strength of a core formation cultivator's divine sense, it could cover an area of 10 miles. Soon, the entire Yi castle was scanned. "All the nodes of the restrictive formation have been destroyed?" Then, the thin old man continued to scan outside. His face changed and he shouted, "The Yeyang clan! The miraculous gate!" The thin old man stood up with a swoosh. His body flashed with a blue light and he quickly flew outside. As soon as he left the cave, he saw a late-stage Foundation establishment cultivator in red robes flying towards him. When the red-robed old man saw the thin old man coming out, he panicked and said, "Granduncle, you've come out of seclusion? A strong enemy is attacking the Yi clan." It turned out that the thin old man was the Yi clan's patriarch, Yi Qingwei. He was at the peak of early-stage core formation. With a serious expression, he ordered the red-robed old man, "Etienne, this time the Yi clan is doomed. You have the highest cultivation level. Immediately take the foliaceous water and Yi Zitao's siblings and a few of Yi Zifeng's talented disciples and escape through the secret passage. Don't worry about the things in the family storage. Survival is the most important thing. You've met the seniors from the Shangqing sect in Zhongzhou and I have some relations with them. You'll be safe as long as you escape to Zhongzhou." The red-robed old man called Yi Etienne heard the patriarch's words and knew the severity of the situation. Without further ado, he saluted the old man with a fist salute and turned to leave. At this time, the restrictive formation enveloping the Yi castle began to flicker as if it was about to break. Yi Qingwei's face turned pale. His body flashed with a blue light and he flew out. If he wanted to protect the bloodline of the Yi clan, he had to buy some time. He roughly sensed that there were 2 early-stage core formation cultivators. Even if he could not defeat them, his life was not in danger. All disciples of the Yi clan, prepare to face the enemy head-on. Use the various formations in the Yi castle to fight the enemy. The Yi clan has thousands of years of history. We won't be defeated so easily. Originally, many disciples who saw that the forbidden formation was about to break were panicking, but when they heard these words coming from the sky, they immediately regained their confidence. It's the patriarch. With the Ancestor's core formation stage cultivation base, what are we afraid of? If the enemy is very strong, why would they sneak in and destroy the nodes of the forbidden formation? Let's fight to the death. Bang! The grand formation of the Yi clan was shattered in just the time it took for Yi Qingwei to fly from the inside to the outside. 2 figures flew towards him. One of them was a black-robed old man with yellow eyebrows. He laughed loudly and said, "Ha ha, old devil Yi, you sneakily used your divine sense to take a look. You actually dared to come over. I, Huang Mei, admire your courage." When Yi Qingwei saw who it was, despair filled his face. This yellow-browed Taoist was still manageable. He was only in the early stage of the core formation realm. It was hard to say who would win if they fought. However, the cultivator next to the yellow-browed Taoist emitted a powerful pressure. He was obviously in the middle stage of the core formation realm. Moreover, there was a level 5 cheetah next to him. He actually didn't notice before. Yi Qingwei's lips were dry. He squeezed out a few words from his mouth. Master Silver Leopard of the Yang clan. Su Tianchuan looked at the Yi clan's patriarch and said with a smile, I didn't expect fellow Taoist Yi to have heard of my name. This makes things easier. Do you want to end your own life or do you want us to do it ourselves? Yi Qingwei's face was livid. He suddenly asked, You too, my Yi clan didn't offend the Yang clan and the Miraculous Gate. Why do you want to join forces to destroy my Yi clan? After all, my Yi clan is a clan in Qingzhou. There are also Qingyang sect and Qingyue temple here. My Yi clan also has some friendship with Shangqing sect. The yellow-browed Taoist smiled and said, Hee, old devil, you can only blame yourself for colluding with Shangqing sect in Zhongzhou for so many years. You've provided some of Qingzhou's resources to Shangqing sect. Yi Qingwei suddenly understood. He said in disbelief, Are you going to attack Shangqing sect? Su Tianchuan said, Since you don't want to end your own life, then die. As soon as he finished speaking, Su Tianchuan summoned a silver dipper-shaped treasure. It emitted a terrifying aura that made the Foundation establishment stage disciples below feel uneasy. Seeing this, Yi Qingwei quickly swallowed a scarlet pill. The transcendence energy in his body surged. Then, he summoned a blue long axe and went up to meet the attack. The two of them fought in the air. When core formation stage cultivators fought, the aftermath of their battle was very threatening to Foundation establishment stage cultivators. Fortunately, the two of them fought in the air, and the shockwaves did not affect the people below. The Yang clan and Miraculous Gates Foundation establishment stage cultivators saw that the Yi clan's core formation stage cultivators had no time to fight, so they attacked the cultivators of Yi Castle. Meanwhile, the Yi Castle below was also in chaos. Many of the Yi clan's disciples obeyed the Patriarch's orders and retreated while fighting. They relied on the restrictive shield in the house to resist. Some of the disciples also realized that the enemy's numbers were terrifying. The 30 or so Foundation establishment stage cultivators were not something they could fight against. They secretly escaped into the depths of Yi Castle. Meanwhile, in the foliaceous waters room, another strange scene occurred. At this time, Lu Kuan had already removed his invisibility spell. He stood in the room with 3 pieces of parchment in his hand. His face was filled with joy. In front of him were 2 long black staffs. Opposite him, the foliaceous water looked as if she was facing a formidable enemy. Her teeth were clenched tightly together as she stared at her opponent with bright eyes. A small wound appeared on her right arm and blood slowly flowed out. She controlled a shining golden halberd to float in front of her. On the other hand, the old man beside her did not react much. He looked at the parchment in Lu Kuan's hand with a strange expression. When the old man and the young girl were talking earlier, Lu Kuan guessed that this old man was Ling Yuetian's cultivator friend. As expected, the old man took out the 3 parchment. At this time, the 2 people in the room were attracted by the 3 bell rings outside. Lu Kuan quickly took out his black flying dagger and took the parchment in the old man's hand. The foliaceous water could not stop him in time and was even grazed by Lu Kuan's flying dagger. If Lu Kuan had not placed his attention on the parchment, the foliaceous water would have been killed in a daze. When Lu Kuan appeared, the foliaceous water immediately recognized her former enemy. Seeing Lu Kuan summon the 2 unparalleled staffs, which were already level 1 psychic immortal instruments, she did not dare to act rashly. This opponent could control a set of immortal instruments on his own when he was in the late Qi refining stage. Now that he was in the Foundation establishment stage, there was an 80% chance that he could use the power of a set of immortal instruments. She was definitely not a match for him alone. Just as these few people were confronting each other for a while, the old man at the side suddenly thought of something. He revealed a surprised expression and asked, Fellow Taoist, do you recognize this parchment? Could it be that your brother Ling's descendant? Lu Kuan looked at the old man. After knowing the relationship between the old man and Ling Yuetian, he did not have any ill intentions. He shook his head and said, I just happened to cultivate Senior Ling's cultivation method by chance. His descendants were wiped out over 100 years ago. The old man's face turned ashen. He muttered a few words and laughed towards the sky. Then his eyes dimmed. Lu Kuan scanned with his divine sense and found that the old man was already dead. Grandfather! The foliaceous water looked at the old man and saw that he had really passed away. She was heartbroken and hugged the old man tightly. Not long after the foliaceous water was born, her parents died outside. It was this old man who raised her and her brother and loved them very much. Seeing this relative pass away like this, the foliaceous water was filled with grief and indignation. She looked at Lu Kuan with red eyes and gritted her teeth. It's you. If it wasn't for you, grandfather would have been able to accompany me for a few more days. After saying that, she recklessly attacked Lu Kuan with her golden halberd. At this time, Lu Kuan put away the parchment and looked at the woman in front of him. He was very conflicted. It could be said that this woman had a grudge with him, but because of her, he had obtained the parchment that was very important to him. Moreover, this woman was obviously a bit crazy because of the death of her relative. However, seeing the other party attacking, Lu Kuan used his telekinesis to control the unparalleled staff to block, while he put on the other hand's spirit control arm guard. In the emergency just now, he only had time to put on one arm guard. Just as the two of them exchanged weapons, the house's restrictive shield was opened and a hurried voice was heard. Little sister, the miraculous gate and the Yeyang clan suddenly attacked the Yi castle. The great ancestor ordered us to retreat immediately. It's you. At this time, a man with sharp eyebrows and bright eyes walked in. When he saw Lu Kuan and his little sister fighting, his expression changed and he quickly took out another golden halberd to attack Lu Kuan. Seeing this, Lu Kuan shook his head. With a wave of his hand, two pitch-black unparalleled staff appeared in his hands and channeled his transcendence energy. At the same time, the muscles on his body bulged and green and red halos flowed on the surface of his body. An aura that was above the middle stage of foundation establishment erupted. Clang! Lu Kuan used the unparalleled staff in his left and right hand to block both halberds with his physical strength. After the unparalleled staff was upgraded to level 1 psychic, its power in Lu Kuan's hands increased greatly. At this time, a giant hammer flashing with red light flew in from outside the house. The aura it exuded was at the late stage of foundation establishment. Seeing this, Lu Kuan's expression changed. A level 3 psychic dharma instrument. Then, he crossed his two staffs and hurriedly blocked the giant red hammer. With a bang, Lu Kuan was sent flying into the house by the giant hammer. At the same time, Yi Zitao dragged the red-eyed foliaceous water out of the house. The giant red hammer launched another attack, and then flew out of the house and landed in the hands of a red-robed old man. The red-robed old man quickly said, Zitao, don't stay here. Quickly go to the family's secret passage. The great ancestor just told me that the enemy is too strong. I'm afraid the Yi clan will be destroyed. Time is of the essence. There are other cultivators coming. I'll go stop them. With that, the old man controlled the giant red hammer and stopped the sect's disciples. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.